Okay. Hey, how long you gonna go for?
Hey everybody, we're going live. I don't know, probably 3 hours tonight we'll go.
Okay. I have uh, I have two priors that I had already said okay to, but if you're still live, which I see you just went live, I hate that I joined at such a wrong time. Sorry, everybody.
It's
But
cool. Hey everybody.
should only be 25 minutes for one, 15 for another, and if you're still live, dude, I'll jump back on with you too. Okay.
All right, cool, dude.
Cool, man. All right. Hi, everybody. All right. Talk to you in a bit, Titus.
All right, take care, man. Thanks for stopping by.
All right. Yep.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Spitting Truth with Titus. That was Brian Richmond who joined me live. He's one of the people I've invited in for the show tonight. I've invited a couple different people in. I basically picked a list of people based on the topics that I'm going to be covering tonight. The main topic I want to cover is something that I just heard a long talk by James Corbett of the Corbett Report about, which is a impending World War III, where we're entering into a period where it was much similar to prior to World War I, where the powers that should not be are coordinating things in order to drive the world organically into a world war through various different means. And it's not organic, it's, completely artificially crafted by these people, but they make it look that way. So tonight we're going to be analyzing the new Silk Road plan that's been rolled out by China and the counter NATO encirclement of China and Russia, and how that's driving us closer to war, and how North Korea and all these other things sort of fit into the grander chessboard. So tonight we're going to be looking at a sort of grand sort of scale of geopolitics, and we're going to cover some other news stories that came out first, but I really do want to focus on sort of this geopolitical thing, and that's what I studied in college. And I have a degree in political science, and I'm extremely good in my own personal opinion at breaking down military conflicts and things like that. So I'll be lending my analysis on what's going on around the world a little bit later, but first we're just going to fly through some other topics here that I think people that watch my channel are interested in. First one is actually going to be sort of a funny topic. So anyways, fucking blunt one out. So screen sharing. All right. So yesterday I was doing some image searches, and you won't believe what I found. Now, I've been asking for months and months and months for one of these flat earthers to finally send me an image of the earth that proves the earth is flat. An image of the ice wall, an image of earth from space where earth looks flat. We've never seen any evidence for the flat earth. So obviously, why would anyone possibly believe that, right? I mean, Doc Rivers wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe it. No one would believe it without evidence, right? All we're asking for is some evidence here of this flat earth hypothesis. Well, I got to say, it's finally come in. I finally have a certified image from NASA showing me not only the entire planet, but also how it's propped up and moving through space. You guys won't believe this. Here it is, straight from NASA. This is it. This is what the Earth actually looks like. You can see we have a turtle underneath. I'm not sure where the turtle came from, but all hail the mighty turtle who upholds and uplifts the world and flies us around. And as you can see here, for those who are wondering, where does the sun go when you can't see it on the other half of the world? Well, maybe it's dipping down here and providing some sunlight for the elephants. I don't know if you guys can see the elephants, but they're there. That's actually what gives us like the different mountain ranges and stuff. That's where the elephants sort of like poke up through the perfectly flat earth here. And I don't know where the water's going from Antarctica. Maybe it circles back down under and then sort of like comes back up somehow through magic. Maybe Disney has some sort of magic creator that's sort of keeping the edge from, just whatever. But, obviously Antarctica is not a continent. I mean, you couldn't possibly fly over Antarctica in the Antarctica flight tours. No, 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 no. Antarctica is a giant ice wall connected to a dome and or just an edge where you could literally fall off the edge and maybe even get pierced by the tusks of the elephant if you're not careful. So this is why you have to be a Freemason to go into space. It's actually a requirement. If you go on NASA's website, you'll see that, because they don't want you giving away the truth about the turtle. Because if once people know about the turtle, it'll totally change their entire paradigm. So let's just not go there. And if you do, you might get someone like this right here who will try to debate you on said subject, and he'll create a topic that's as ridiculous as this. Titus Frost has done no research on the flat earth, no research, which means if I right now go and type in flat earth into a search bar, then he's wrong, because then I have researched it, and it's the dumbest premise ever for a debate I've ever heard in my life. It was a complete waste of my time, because the guy didn't even sit and listen to the whole debate. And, you know, he had a couple flat earth friends come in here and obviously vote for him, which still didn't work, because even though only 14 people voted, I still won. Anyone who watched this and didn't vote for me, I'd love to know your reasoning, since everyone that commented, other than the guy I was debating against, said that I won and explained why they voted for me. So it was a complete drubbing. The flat earth stuff is just such nonsense. It's done with, all right? And the next time I debate anyone, just some random person from the internet, it's going excuse me. It's going to be a moderated and timed debate where we each get X amount of time to speak and then have to hit pass the mic to the other person, because I'm not going to have another shouting match with someone on call out. It's a waste of my time. Okay, moving on. DC Appeals Court rules police need warrant before using the Stingray cell phone tracker. So I don't know if you guys know what the Stingray is. It's basically a fake cell phone tower that they set up, and they generally do this wherever there's like protests going on or anything that aren't, you know, government ops. And they sit there, and all of the traffic that goes through these fake cell phone towers, which are these Stingray devices, they have access to and they keep. Well, now they're saying that they're not allowed to do this without a warrant. So police around the U.S. have been using Stingray technology for several years now in order to spy on Americans. Despite their heavy use, however, many police departments haven't exactly been forthcoming about their use of this technology or their policies surrounding it. These devices are used to sweep up private data about individuals who are within a certain range of the device. They can have an effect on any phone within 200 to 500 meters. And here's an image of one of these lovely devices they have here. The device is able to sweep up data from every phone that is within the area, and that is the exact sort of fishing expedition behavior that the Constitution has sought to prevent against. Americans should be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. But yet this sort of technology enables police departments to sweep up private data in violation of that privacy, and they've been doing it for years. Critics want to be sure that the police are using this technology in the right way, because the worst thing for the police to do would be for them to misuse and abuse what they believe is a beneficial tool for them to do their jobs. Because if they misuse and abuse that tool, then it opens up the chance to have that tool taken away from them. So they should use it with the utmost caution. And not only that, the police should obtain a warrant before using this technology to spy on an individual. It seems that appeals court in Washington, D.C. has also agreed that the use of this technology under ordinary circumstances without a warrant is a direct violation to the Fourth Amendment. And they recently ruled that the police do need a warrant before they can go using Stingray technology to spy on people. So I'm sorry to say, you little gang of thugs that run around in blue uniforms, and no, I'm not talking about the Crips, I'm talking about the police. This is, this little technology that you guys have been abusing the crap out of for years is going bye-bye. You have to use things within the Fourth Amendment. You cannot break the law to enforce the law, okay? This isn't the first ruling of its kind either. Similar rulings were given in courts in New York City, San Francisco, and Maryland. Because law enforcement hasn't been forthcoming about their policies and use with this technology, police departments in various states have been sued. And if they are using that technology in a way that coincides with their legal authority, then they shouldn't have a problem with detailing their policies or use of that technology. They should be eager to demonstrate how that technology is being used to supposedly keep communities safe and to uphold the law. If their job is to uphold the law, then they cannot break the law to uphold the law. It doesn't make any sense. You can't go and break the highest laws of the land, which is the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and just violate the Fourth Amendment and then, be like, oh, well, we had to do this because X, Y, Z. It doesn't matter what the X, Y, Z is. You have to go get a warrant first, okay? That's why there is a Fourth Amendment. And someone please send this article to the NSA, okay? I mean, I saw this stuff today. It's all about, Trump proven right because the wiretapping thing is real. No kidding. We've known that the wiretapping stuff is real. The NSA has been detailed spying on every American through their smartphones, and the CIA, all the leaks through WikiLeaks about all the different hacking programs, how they can spy, on you through like everything that you have that's connected to the internet. I mean, well, so they specifically targeted Trump. They're specifically targeting every American. Does people not understand that? Like, and even if they don't know what to do with the data yet, say they're all just collecting all this data in one of their big data centers for the NSA and they can't quite analyze it all yet. They don't have the program. Well, one day they might. You don't know where the future is going, and just allowing them to suck up all your data and store it in some data center without a warrant, is not a good idea, But whatever, moving on. So this is a story I covered before, and when I did, I talked about how Jamie Dimon, this guy, connected to JP Morgan Chase Bank, JP Morgan Chase is one of these horrible central banks that just print money out of thin air. They're tied into the Federal Reserve System. It's a giant joke. They are the biggest fraud going. It's a giant Ponzi scheme that they benefit from, and everyone else is put into, financial enslavement because of. And they're sitting there saying cryptocurrency has nothing backing it, which is the exact opposite of reality. It's the fiat currencies that have nothing backing it except for, the central banks and stuff like that saying it's worth XYZ value. Well, cryptocurrencies actually have a blockchain backing them. Every block on the blockchain is very difficult to find whatever it's called, finding the next block, right? And it takes a ton of computing time and energy to do this. So therefore, there is something backing cryptocurrency. Okay, so that's ridiculous. So just when I thought that maybe someone would have made it clear to Jamie Dimon and the rest of the world that government-backed fiat currencies operating fractionals or banking are pure fraud, and that maybe he would back off his previous comments claiming that Bitcoin is a scam. Nope. Now, before you even get into this article, it was found out that after Jamie Dimon was saying all these things about Bitcoin being a scam and all this, he started buying it up when Bitcoin hit a low. So on one hand, Jamie Dimon is saying that Bitcoin is a scam. On the other hand, he's waiting for it to hit an all-time, not an all-time low, like a daily low or weekly low, whatever it was. It dropped from like 4,600 down to like, I think it was like 2,900 or something in like less than a week. It was like a huge drop, and he bought it up at the very bottom of that. That's exactly the type of thing that, the people he's connected to through the central banking system. The Rothschilds do. They'll say one thing to drive the market forces, and then they'll take advantage of that and start buying stuff up. That's how, they used the Napoleonic War to basically create the Bank of England. They lied about the result of that war. It's the same tactics. You lie, use your media connections to lie, you drive down the price, and then you buy it up when it's low. This is how these people work. This is why the world is so screwed up. A few days ago, so going back to the article, a few days ago, I covered how Jamie Dimon, head of investment JP Morgan, claimed publicly that Bitcoin is a scam, called his own daughter a fool, and sent shockwaves through the markets that caused the price of Bitcoin to nosedive, and then posted a timely reminder in my whistleblower series that JP Morgan was responsible for some of the largest financial fraud ever perpetrated on Earth. It's also worth remembering that in 2013, JP Morgan filed patents for their own version of a Bitcoin-like currency. Additionally, there is a public job advert on JP Morgan Chase's website for a blockchain engineer. And he links to the job advertisement. Soon after, reports came out claiming to show that JP Morgan was actually heavily trading in Bitcoins, despite Jamie claiming that any JP Morgan trader caught trading Bitcoins would be fired. JP Morgan issued a statement that was visible on the screenshot was actually JP Morgan's clients trading in Bitcoin using JP Morgan's pipes to perform the trades, and not trades actually performed by JP Morgan's own traders. However, obviously it would be easy for them to make such a claim while covertly making the trades themselves or via friends, family members. The point here is that massive money could be made and lost during the dip in cryptocurrency value, made after Dimon's comments, and making profits is JP Morgan's sole purpose for existence. Charges for Jamie and the latest nonsense. Today, a story on CNBC states that charges have been brought against Jamie directly in Sweden for market manipulation and spreading misinformation. But even that hasn't stopped his mouth from leaking more nonsense, and today's quotes are the best/worst yet. Cryptocurrencies are a novelty. Cryptocurrencies are worth nothing. It's creating something out of nothing to me that is worth nothing, he said. It will end badly. You could apply what he's saying here to Federal Reserve notes, and you'd get the exact truth out of all of this. Like if he said here, it said, Federal Reserve notes are a novelty. Federal Reserve notes are worth nothing. It's creating something out of nothing. That to me is worth nothing, he said. It will end badly. Hashtag end the Fed, right? I mean, come on. It's exactly what we've been saying about the Federal Reserve for years. I love it when they attack something with what they're doing themselves. This is exactly what the central bankers are doing themselves. They're just mad that other people are now getting in on their stupid game. And my personal favorite, creating money out of thin air without government backing is very different from money without government backing. Excuse me? The Federal Reserve is backed by what? By what? What government is the Federal Reserve a part of exactly? The government of central banksters? Or what? What government is that private institution a part of? Can anybody tell me? Nope. For those paying attention, one of the main attractions of cryptocurrency is precisely that is not a part of the totally fraudulent system of fiat money creation that has long been the infinite wealth generation system used by the criminal central banksters to maintain their position at the top of their artificial pyramids. Yeah, exactly. They're just mad because, people are getting in on their little game here. We just create worthless electronic money out of nothing. Then we lend it out and charge interest on it. Then we make them give us their houses in real wealth when they cannot pay. This is the world we live in, and they're mad that we're now onto their game and we're not giving in anymore. That we're, creating alternate currencies because we're so sick and tired of their stupid shenanigans. It's mind-boggling. Like, these bankers have the gall to try to project the cryptocurrency as dishonest because it's made out of nothing, e.g. not backed by something material, when the entire paper money currency system is exactly the same. And I'm going to say this as well. Something like 90% of the quote-unquote paper money currency is digital. It only exists on some ledger in a bank, and you have to trust the central banks that they're all being honest about this. I mean, it's totally insane. Totally insane. I posted a while back about the world's first scientific study performed by a German economics professor that showed the banks really do create money out of nothing, while cryptocurrency might not be backed with the tears of a weeping Mother Mary or sweet sweat from the brow of Zeus. They do at least not rely on outright fraud and government-supported brainwashing to perpetuate themselves. No one is going to bail out cryptocurrencies. What would there be to bail out? What would you have to bail out exactly? All that would ever happen with cryptocurrencies is they would eventually, the worst thing that could ever happen is it would just be worth nothing. It's not going to go negative. It's not going to be like some debt that we all owe to the Bitcoin bank because it's classic. Jamie is implying that there's no safety net with cryptocurrencies, and that is to some extent correct. It is plausible to lose money by accident with cryptocurrencies. I've done it myself. I sent some Steam to the wrong Steam. I sent it to my SBD wallet instead of my Steam wallet, and I still am trying to get that money back. However, that's my own personal responsibility. When you make a mistake, you have to pay for that mistake. Where when the bank in the real world makes mistakes, you have to pay for that mistake. Do you see the difference here? At least in the cryptocurrency world, you're responsible for your own mistakes, whereas in the fiat banking system, we're all responsible for the banksters' mistakes. However, cryptocurrencies have no track record of failure like his bank does, and no record of criminality like his bank does. Further, cryptocurrencies have no risk of costing the taxpayer billions in bailout fees like his bank does. In short, his criticisms have all the integrity of a serial killer pointing at a driver on the road saying, "You might kill someone with that car one day. You're an idiot to trust him." Wishing you well at You're a Soul. So go give this guy a follow on Steemit at You're a Soul. You can see his little GIF thing he made for himself there. It's pretty cool. Wish I knew how to make GIFs like that. So really good article. I re-steamed it. The link is already in the description box if you want to see it for yourself. Okay. And what we're going to be getting into later tonight with, the whole impending, World War III final social cataclysm thing that the elite are trying to kick off is, how these banksters are behind all this. And it's all about finance and money. And, the average person has very little to do with the powers and the forces at play that bring us into things like World War I, which is similar to what's bringing us into things like World War II. So these national alliances and things that people just, they hear about in the news and they just gloss over because it's, it's not about sports. It's not about, some celebrity. It's, it's boring geopolitical stuff, but it's extremely important to understand. Okay. So another thing I wanted to bring up, just because people had sent this to me and asked me to cover it. Obviously, I keep an eye on all the Pizzagate stuff. This I first saw on 4chan. It eventually made it to where it was on Reddit first, and then it went to 4chan, but I saw the 4chan sort of thing going on here with all this. So there was a comment that at this thing here, these are where the kids are being held for Pizzagate, right? So they said 40 degrees, 47 minutes, 35.8 degrees, north, 74 degrees, 1 minute, 8.6 degrees west. So when you look that up, I goes, that's my house. Gotta love the comedy on 4chan sometimes. So people pretty much identified it as being here in North Bergen, New Jersey, which is right across from Manhattan, right near the, right across from, I guess that would be, what, Upper East Side in the Central Park there. And you can see here, it's an above ground shot of the place. So Michael's Commercial Signs is pretty much the exact location here. And as people pointed out, there's like a school nearby. There's when you look at this from the side, you can't see this whole back area back here. It's really difficult to see any of this. Got an auto repair thing here. And this was kind of a, people point out it's kind of a strange looking building maybe. And right across the street here, you have this place called Perfect Pizza, which is right here. And this place did have some kind of weird stuff going on. I'm not saying anything. This is just a post on 4chan. This is likely them just trolling everybody. Okay. So, this is likely some troll who found these coincidences, but you never know. So it's always good to look into these things. So you go down and hopefully no one posts anything that's going to get me removed from YouTube. You can see here's the pizza place I was telling you about, this Perfect Pizza. And it kind of has the 4 things on the edges there, kind of like Comet. Someone pointed that out as well, but it's not exact, obviously. You have comments like this: I'm there, I can hear kids screaming. People saying, go down there and check it out, which would be nice. There are lots of people. I don't live in New Jersey, but someone could easily go there. This is a shot just to the across the street. So the Perfect Pizzas down here on the end of the street, right off the screen here. This is a shot of the buildings across. So, this is the other direction. This guy saying Perfect Pizzas next to a junkyard. So moving on. I did look through some of these too, and I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting, because I Google the place, and some of the reviews were pretty interesting. One of them is, it's more than just pizza. Lots of different options to choose from, which could just mean, they have subs and other Italian type dishes and things. So, it's not 100% evidence of anything. This was pretty interesting. This thing here was blacked out for some reason on Google Maps. I did this myself as well earlier today and saw that. So you can go do it yourself. See, this guy says there's a school across the street. You can see this. This is the school. Over here, just to the left of the Perfect Pizza place, you can see the sign is right here. You have this Lawrence Larry Weinstein, whatever this is. Sort of interesting. It's also interesting that Church of God Ministry of Jesus was sort of like connected to the building where the pizza shop is in. Turn around. This is up the street a little bit ways. You can see there's this house here. It's like a storage locker. Now, this is the one that when you're facing the building I showed, that's most likely the building. This is what it looks like. So sort of a similar look to Pegasus, honestly, isn't it? So this is where the coordinates basically lead to, is this building here. You can't really see much about it. As I showed you, this is like just a field here or something. Can't really see what's behind it. When they open this up, it's like some sort of sign company. So there's lots of space in there. So people have actually seen images where it's open, I believe. It's right here. This is it with the door open when it was a sign company, which I think it's no longer. Interestingly, behind the pizza shop, when you do the street view, I actually got to where I saw, where you'd go down and do the street view. I went around the back of the pizza shop, and I didn't see this guy because he's like behind this corner here. I did see this van here, but I guess when you get the angle just right, there's like some dude standing behind there in this like alley here on the phone. Not, criminal or anything, but it's kind of weird. This guy says this house, which is right across the street from this building, looks like an Alefantis property. Don't know. I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, you can see the coordinates go to this building here. It's a pretty big building, obviously. That's just another view inside of it. Excuse me. And that was pretty much it. The rest of it's just like Pepe frogs and 4chan ridiculousness. So anyways, I just wanted to cover that in case people saw something that maybe I didn't see. Obviously, there's no like hardcore evidence there that would suggest that something's actually going on there. It's more than likely just a wild goose chase. Someone's probably just screwing with everybody. So who knows? But you can always look into it. They're saying it could be a LARP, but I don't know. And that's, I'm leaning towards the LARP part here. It's likely just someone trying to get us all riled up because a lot of people have hit a wall with the research. So now people are jumping on anything they can find and following these rabbit holes that lead nowhere. And it's just a big mess. But, we're still doing the research. We're still trying to put the pressure on these people. I put FOIA requests in that all just got ignored, basically. So if someone could repeat my FOIA request I put in for the video cameras from the incident at Comet Ping Pong with Edgar Madison Welch, we know based on the testimony of the DC chief that they all had cameras on before. Chief Newsham said that they all had cameras on them long before Pizzagate took place. So they should have had cameras on them that day. And, it's a public place. It was a public story, and it's, public figures because both of them are well-known. Edgar Madison Welch had an IMDb page before Pizzagate, which means he was a public figure and an actor. And James Alefantis is, you know, on the GQ list, the most powerful people in Washington, which makes him a public figure as well. And it was a national news story, which means it's in the public interest to know what actually took place that day and to get the cameras released. So I think that's where we're at now, is we need people to do stuff like that. We need to keep the pressure on them about stuff like, you know, the laptops that have gone missing, you know, the Seth Rich one, the Anthony Weiner one, the hard drive at Comet that got shot, you know, what was on that hard drive, you know, what happened to that hard drive, you know, all those types of things like that. We need to continue to press on people to get answers for this, because now it's like this game where it's like, oh, you know, the more time goes by, the less people care. And we can't be that way. The more time that goes by, the angrier we all need to get. We can't just forget about this and move on. We have to get answers for these things. This is far more important than some of the other conspiracy nonsense that people spend tons of time on that makes no difference whatsoever to anyone and is based on their own ridiculous ideology that they've been programmed with since they were very young and they can't seem to get over. We have far more important things than, you know, certain people's hatred of anyone that's of a different race than them. We need to get past that type of crap and start focusing on things that actually matter, like ending the child trafficking rings. Okay? So I'm just going to leave it with that. I want to show you all a video that was made by Anon Hive. So I'm going to be playing this video for you guys. It's basically a warning to all the pedophiles out there that, you know, we're coming for them and their time is limited, because we're onto their stupid, sick little games and we're not going to allow it. And we're going to stand up to them and expose them in any way we can. So, you know, here's the video, and all credit goes to the Anon Hive channel. I will put the link in the description box.
You enter, abandon all hope. Sometimes I'd like to get my hands on silver. Somebody has to punish the corrupt. We need you.
Okay, so if any of you come across a site that needs to be removed, please contact these guys and they will help remove it. They took down the NAMBLA website, which is North American Boy Love Association or whatever. It's like one of the most well-known pedophile groups out there. And these guys will go and take down other pedophile websites. They have it's a group of people that has the technical capabilities to do that. And if you don't feel comfortable contacting them directly, I'm in contact with them. You can contact me and I'll pass your target along. Now, let me explain a little something about targets. Anonymous is not your personal army, okay? It's not my personal army. If I have a personal problem with someone, I would never be like, hey, take down their, site because you guys all are, friends of mine or something. That's not how it works. You have to present the target, present why it's a target, and then they will decide on their own if they agree with you or not. And if they do, and they think that it's something that should be taken down because it's like a legitimate pedophile website, then they will go after it, okay? So no one is your personal army. This is not a call to use Anonymous for your own personal vendettas. This is a call to help us identify targets, valid targets of pedophile websites that we can take down. So if you want to help us with that, please go out there, find the targets, and then send them. Okay. So let me just organize where we're going next with this and close some of these things. But let's see if I can give you guys a couple quick more things before we get into the hardcore geopolitical stuff. Okay. Just show you all application window. Twitter. Okay, so we can see here Corba Reezy at Corba Reezy says, do you think it could be Antonis here on the left, which is the bus that Jimmy Comet uses for his Instagram? I'm not sure. In this video by Lady Gaga called Guy, I went and looked up where this was filmed. It was supposedly filmed at Hearst Castle. And their collection shows the one on the art piece on the right, not the one on the left. So you can see here's Hearst Castle. It's been used for a whole bunch of different sets, but when I went down through the thing, I was able to identify where to go. I already scrolled by it. Yeah, there it is. Venus Italica right here, which is clearly the statue here on the right, right? You can see it's the same statue. This one I could not find in their art collection. So if someone else can possibly identify what that is a statue of and let me know in the comment section, that would be really helpful. No one was able to really figure this out on Twitter as far as I know. Math Easy Solutions wanted me to touch on big names back Trump Tower. Now, this is a story I covered back way, way long ago. If you look up Illuminati election 2016, which I made in May of 2016, you'll see I covered this story about Trump and George Soros. You can see Soros did put a huge amount of money into Trump Tower in Chicago, and in New York City, as I covered in that film, they were connected together when they were involved in a lawsuit in New York City against GM, I believe. So Soros and Trump have been business partners for a long time. And it's not surprising to hear that. I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Trump's at war with the deep state, blah, 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 blue. InfoWars says George Soros is evil and Trump is the greatest, so therefore you're wrong. Well, guess what? These things are, sourced. They're real. There's court cases and there's other things. We're not making this up. People like George Soros fund both sides of everything. George Soros funds, he funds the anti-gun legislation, but he owns gun manufacturers and ammunition manufacturers because he knows that the more, anti-gun fear he puts out there, the more people are going to run out and buy guns. The more he supports Hillary and makes it public, the more people are going to run out and support Trump, thinking that he's not also connected to him. I mean, these people are all connected. You wouldn't get into the White House these days if you weren't connected to the cabal in some way. Okay. And one of those things I also reported on a long time ago is this, and I can't believe this is still going on, is this Mo Yitpo thing. And if you type this into YouTube, there's a whole bunch of pedophile type videos on YouTube under Mo Yitpo. And I'll just remind the Anon Hive about that again, but that's a perfect example of something that is easily verifiable on your own. And when you go out and look for it, it's very disturbing. So if people could go out and look that up, just do it with a strong stomach and report all of the disgusting crap you find when you do that. Let's try to get it removed from YouTube. Okay? So just help out with that. Really good video that was put up by Really Graceful, which is one of the reasons why I invited her in tonight, is this one on Saudi Arabia. It discusses a whole bunch of stuff about, the Saudi kingdom, its ties to Israel and all that type of stuff. Unfortunately, YouTube has removed this video from YouTube, I believe. So it's now only available on BitChute, on DTube, I believe, as well. So go and take a watch of this video because it ties into what we're going to get into tonight, dealing with, this is sort of the middle ground staging area where one part of the Silk Road is now attempting to go through. But, this has to do with sort of the American-Israeli influence of that side of the equation, and this giant game of risk that these people are playing with all of us. Okay, Gons has been killing it like always. And this is the Ask Me Anything Steam It post where I made a meme here with them holding this. I thought it was kind of funny. You can see here, there was also this I wanted to touch on. Supposedly 2 Anons from Pol infiltrated an Antifa meeting and recorded nearly 2 hours of audio. Pol is analyzing the audio to pass along to police. So you can see there's a whole transcript of it here and things like that. And the Antifa people are basically like inciting violence and things like that. So, it's not good. Definitely should be exposed. And anytime Antifa is out there inciting violence, it also shows that they had an affiliation with the JDL. So I thought this was important. I wanted to bring more people's attention to this. So you can just see that, this is what's really going on. These Antifa people and stuff like that are all, involved in the conquer to divide plan by the powers that shouldn't be. They're all contributing to it. And, they're promoting violence and things like that against their fellow Americans, which is not going to solve anything. Okay. If you people were adults and you wanted to debate your ideas and see which ideas held up, you would go to things like Call Out, which I showed you at the very beginning, where you can have a debate against someone in a reasonable fashion. Then other people can watch and vote on it and decide which ideas hold more water. It's a lot more effective than going out in the street and attacking people because they're from the other political side of the aisle than you. It's totally ridiculous. There's no reason for any of this stuff. Another person put together a fully updated comprehensive list of the Clinton body count, which is always interesting if you're familiar with my channel. The last thing I'm going to cover before we're going to get into the main topics for tonight, which is going to be the war, the impending war against China and Russia from the West, was this analysis of Trump's UN speech by Tyranny Unmasked. And I invited him into the live stream tonight. I don't know if he's going to make it or not later or something, but I was hoping to get him in here so he could discuss his breakdown of the speech. And it's like that Jamie Dimon thing earlier where Jamie Dimon is projecting like all of these things on other people that he himself, not he himself, but the central bank is doing. Well, in this video, Trump is basically projecting to make sure the Trump people don't just go nuts here. He is projecting what the deep state is doing on all these other countries, saying that they are responsible for all the things that the deep state is actually doing, like, you know, threatening other people's ways of lives, you know, being aggressive with their military. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. And, you know, and he talks about how, you know, basically, you know, Iran has crosshairs all over it right now. And I'll show you why that's so important. We'll get into the little map analysis that's going on here so you guys understand the big game of risk that these psychopaths are playing with all of our lives. So, let's see who somebody joined. Run to Christ joined tonight. How you doing, brother?
Hey man, how's it going?
Bunch. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, I was just up late doing a video for a change, and I seen your message on my Twitter, and I was like, oh, I wonder if he's still broadcasting.
Oh yeah. So did you see by any chance the debate I had last night? Or
no, I didn't. It must have been on late because I'm like going to bed so early these days. I've been just not making videos for a long time, and it's like impossible for me to stay up late. But tonight I was back on the case making a video, and like I said, I just seen your thing and hopped on in.
Yeah, I had a fairly interesting debate about the flat earth the other night where I was called a bad Christian for saying that the earth is not flat.
Oh yeah, they say that all the time, man. That's their thing, you know. But you got to just kind of ignore that because they're wrong. They can say all they want that the earth is flat, you know, that's fine. That's their opinion. But to then say that you're not a proper Christian or whatever else, like I've even heard some of them say you're not saved unless you're a flat earther. Because, you know, if you're not a flat earther, to them, you can't believe in the Bible, you know, because they're insistent that the Bible is a flat earth book, and I completely disagree. I mean, you've seen some of my videos on that, haven't you? Flat earth. So, you know my position.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up to you, because I think you've done the best job of debunking the flat earth based on what is written in the Bible. So basically, from what I've seen on your videos on it, is that the Bible actually supports a spherical earth where instead of a flat earth.
Oh yeah, absolutely does, and I'm hoping to continue that series at some point because I mean, there's just so much that you can do with kind of combating what the flat earthers say about scripture and things like that. And to me, they just take it completely out of context. You know, that's basically how I see their view. You know, it's just, and to me, here's one. If there's any flat earthers listening, right? A globe Earth, in my opinion, is proven in Genesis 1:2. Okay, so there's a little thing for you to go run and chase and figure out why I'm saying that. It's a little challenge for y'all. But Genesis 1:2, for me, all the proof you need to know the shape of the earth is in that verse. So study away, guys. Study away.
I might even pull it up on the screen for later. I might end with that tonight, just to hammer the point home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's good that we're all still here, and the end of the world has not happened yet. We're approximately 3 hours into the 23rd of September in the UK, and all is well.
Yeah, for sure. Did you hear? Did you see Corbett did a really good talk, and I'll screen share it here so you can see the actual, so everyone can see the actual video I'm referencing. Hold on a second. Screen share. It's called Echoes of World War I, China, the US, and the Next Great War. And I've seen this whole thing, but he talks about these extremely eerie similarities. I left this on the screen here so I could easily find it. A rising power, he's talking about China, entangling alliances, military competition, resource competition, trade competition, invasion hysteria, and basically talks about an impending war basically between Russia, China, and the United States. Do you think that we're getting close to that sort of possibility?
Well, I haven't seen the video, but I do like that channel. He's very good. But to answer your question, yeah, I do see that as a strong possibility. And what I base that on is Ezekiel 38. And I know you've did a video on Ezekiel chapter 33 or something like that. It was close to that, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And so Ezekiel 38 talks about an invasion of Israel. So, and it even names the nations. Of course, some of the names that are mentioned are old names for these nations. So, for example, you won't have Russia named as Russia in the Bible. It's the old name, you know, and that is Rosh. So it's pretty close to Russia. And they're also known as Gog and Magog, and they come into Israel with a European conglomerate. So some of the European nations are involved in that as well. And China are obviously their ally as well. Russia, you know, they like backing them up. But I don't think China is mentioned in this specific prophecy. There are Arab nations mentioned, Egypt and Libya. They're mentioned in it. And basically what I think is going to happen in the next few years, probably sometime around 2020, because that's around the same time that Israel starts extracting the gas and oil from the major gas and oil field that they have just found in the last couple of years. They call it the Leviathan gas field. And this is a big thing because it's going to change Israel's kind of position in the energy market, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a possible motivation for Russia deciding to make a move on Israel, because as you're probably aware, Russia is quite a major player in the energy market. They are constantly selling gas and oil to most places in Europe, including the UK. We're often having to sell it back to them because we don't have the storage to actually keep it in the country. So that's probably why gas is so expensive in the UK. But I definitely think an invasion of Israel is on the cards. You can see everybody is involved in that region right now and have been for quite a few years now. So you see Russia is heavily involved in Syria, and it's not going to be too long before people start making a move on Israel because of this this oil field that they have. It's going to change things around that region, you know. So
yeah.
What else was his video talking about then with this China?
Yeah, so basically, I'll pull it up here on the. If I can't get the. I think I was going to show everybody up on the screen.
Fake Israel was asking us. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat there.
So, you know, what you're talking about is like what's going on right now. So, like, you know, China just deepened its oil ties with Russia. So they did a $9 billion deal that just got signed on 9/11. And basically, you know, a lot of what's going on right now is, if you can see it here on this, or let's see if I can't. I'll pull this up from my notes real quick. Let's see if I can't find the actual article I want to show everybody real quick. But basically what they're trying to do is build this thing called the Silk Road, right? So the Silk Road is, you know, a historical thing, but it's also being brought back. And here's a really good example of it I can show everybody.
Is that where they used to have the silk trading routes? Is that what that is?
Yeah, so I'll show you right here. Application window. Okay, boom, here you go. So in the past, the Silk Road went overland, the Silk Road economic belt, right? Went sort of through here.
Yeah.
That's sort of the historical Silk Road from China to Europe, how they brought stuff to market. Obviously, there's a new massive trade corridor between China and America, but that's not really what we're talking about here. Now there's a new massive amount of trade going from Russia into China, just because of the NATO encirclement that's gone on. So if you look at this map here, you can see that the dark blue, lighter blue are sort of the Chinese Russian allies. So you can see the dark blue here, but the green is, Japan, South Korea, all this area here, down here. And this is actually a major trigger point, which I'm going to get into tonight. You can also see here India, Saudi Arabia, which is why I was just talking about really Graceful's video. Israel is obviously going to be green. And you have Syria here, which is in the black, which is nations with foreign occupiers, invaders in midst of serious insurgencies. And these are basically places that you can see on the big grand chessboard where they're trying to expand either, the green territory or they're trying to expand the blue territory, right? And that's why these are trigger points. It has nothing to do with natural organic revolutions or things going on the ground. This is geopolitics. This is basically a game of Risk that these people are playing, except with real people's lives. And it's just, you can see Pakistan here. How long has Pakistan been getting drone bombed by the US and everything else? Here you have Iran. Now, Iran is a major target right now. Trump was, just once again, when talking about North Korea, which is over here, another major strategic position, they were talking about how they need to take these two next pieces on the chessboard over, right? That's the next two big targets for them. And the reason this is important is because down here, which is the South China Sea, this area right here, is where a vast majority of trade in the modern world goes through, which is why China is creating all these fake islands down here, okay? Because what they're trying to do is secure this route here going through the sea, which is the South China Sea right here.
Yeah.
And this is all American-owned territory here, all of this. So think about that in sort of a strategic type of thing. And they're trying to go down here. Now, another port that China is trying to use is going down from China down to Pakistan to this thing in Pakistan called Gwadar Port, right? Now, that Gwadar Port is a massive, hub because it's right here at the entrance of the Persian Gulf. Okay. But something else that just took place, and excuse me while I just close like a whole bunch of links so that I don't lose.
Yeah.
Because I've been having problems with bandwidth lately. So if I have too much stuff open at once, it can cause like all types of problems.
Yeah. I get that as well.
But the other interesting thing he was talking about, and before we even get into the rest here, is how this matches up with World War I and what took place before that, where you saw these like two alliances. You have the American, French, Russian alliance and the Entente, right? So it's like the same exact type of thing, like, that happened before World War I that led to World War I is now happening here again. You can see the two sides are sort of dividing and setting their sides for like another big final social cataclysm type thing.
Yeah. Basically, it seems to me as if they're playing the communist card quite strongly, you know what I mean? So they're just bringing back the old red boogeyman,
Yeah.
Like especially with, what's his name? Kim Jong-un, who was educated in Switzerland, by the way. I don't know if you're aware of that, but when he was a young boy, he was educated in Switzerland. So if any of you are familiar with like things like the Octagon and the Knights Templar, and the Catholic Church, obviously. You know, Switzerland is like, it's just the Catholic heaven, you know, where they can take their billions of dollars, euros, and pounds, and all the tax that they make from other global tax revenue places, you know, because it's all Roman. It was all based on the Roman tax system, and it's still going on today, you know. And at the end of the day, it's all about money and power for them. So they'll throw in the communists again when they need them, and it looks like that's what they're doing. They're pushing Putin as a bad guy all the time, you know. Oh, Putin's a bad guy, and he's speaking out against globalism as if he's like, you know, actually against it. But for those of us that are in the know, we can see through all that, because Putin, just like the rest of them, they all go to Rome when the Pope clicks his fingers and he says, what's what? And it's him who dictates global policy, you know. And they're all working together. Don't forget that. Don't be fooled. Even Trump. You know, you Americans over there listening, Trump is not your friend, okay? He's Jesuit trained. He's in there with the Catholics. You seen that video I did on the Al Smith dinner? Where
Yep.
all the banking elite and everybody, they all sat round and had a big dinner. And Trump lets it slip that he's been going there since he was a kid with his dad. So Trump is not the political savior that you were all hoping for after the shambles that Barack Obama's presidency was, you know. So after him, the people were wanting something, weren't they? You know, and it seems to me like, how do you get rid of your enemies, you know? How do you get rid of them? Well, one way to get rid of them is to give them what they want, right? It's the old Roman way. They placate the masses. They give the people what they want just to keep them quiet and keep them under control. And that's exactly what happened in America. People were, you know, the pendulum was swung so far to the left that everybody's now being triggered, if you will, to be right or even far right, you know, with this alt-right stuff that's been happening, you know. It just seems to me that the whole Western kind of Caucasian people is being triggered right now into being far right or alt-right when we really don't want to be that far right. Do you know what I mean? Nobody wants that. It's just you're being triggered and pushed that way because the pendulum has swung so far to the left with all the craziness that's been going on in the past 5 years. The transgender agenda, you know, nobody knows who's a boy or a girl anymore. You get 30 genders to fill in on a form, and all this stuff has been pushed on your kids. And we've got abortion going crazy, and you know, normal people can see what's happening and they react to it because they've been triggered, you know. And it's gonna be quite bad. I expect in the future, you know, people's reactions to this craziness of the left and the liberals, you know, because you got two sides to it, and you got hard truth and then you got soft truth, you know. The liberals are the softies and the conservatives are the hard truth, you know. And it's just getting mashed together at the minute, you know, and something's going to break. And when it does, there's going to be a lot of people that are triggered into going far right, alt-right, just to compensate for the fact that the pendulum has swung so far to the left these days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think a pendulum is exactly the perfect example, because it seems like every day there's an event that pushes people further to either side of this, and then the obvious reaction to that is people on the other side then go even further to the left or the right, depending on how they were already feeling before whatever event took place. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And it's all these things that they just use to label people, these different things like, oh, you're a leftist, you're a conservative, you're a Christian, you're an atheist, you're black, you're white, you're this, you're that, you're, American, you're Irish, you're Chinese, you're whatever. And they use these labels to get us fighting against each other. and to start these crazy wars and to do all these awful things and to get us hating each other for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And before we know it, you've got like, excuse me, you mentioned World War One just a few moments ago. I really get that feeling as well, that things have been like the kind of like spirit that's in the air is very much so what was going on back in World War One, World War Two kind of era. You know, people are being pushed, like you said, into all these little pigeonholes, and everybody wants to defend their own little pigeonhole from the next guy in the next pigeonhole. Do you know what I mean? And it's just getting worse and worse, like you said. And you know, it's before we know it, you're going to have like Christians in one country fighting a war against Christians in another country, which is pretty much what happened in World War II and World War One, because most European nations were generally Christians, right? And if you ask people who fought in the war and survived, they go to church. They, well, did you go to church during the war or just before the war? Yes, we did. And if you go over to Germany and ask them the same thing, well, did you go to church before the war kicked off? Yes. Did you go to church after the war? Yes, I did. You know, it's just a bunch of allegedly Christians, right, being pushed into this position where they have to fight each other because the pieces in the game have been positioned in such a way that people are left with sort of like no choice. You're sort of dragged into this war that nobody wants, because sensible people don't want war, right? I mean, who in their right minds would go, hey, rather than going to my normal day job where I sit in an office or I drive a car or whatever, you know, let's just pick up a gun and go fight those guys over there for meaningless things like, what was it that triggered World War One? Franz Ferdinand got assassinated. You know, it's like, okay, so one guy dies and now we all have to shoot each other. You know, it's just the way they manipulate society. They get you into this spirit where, well, I mean, in one sense, it's just total rebellion against what is right, what is good, and people just lose the plot and they start doing stupid things because they've been manipulated into it. And it's happening again.
And I thought it was pretty clever. Corbett pointed out that, like, during the First World War, that the men that stayed behind and didn't like go to war, the women in the UK went around with, I guess it was white flowers or something like that, and they would pin it on any war age men that were still in the United Kingdom. And eventually it led to so many problems because it was so effective at shaming, you know, the men that weren't fighting in the war, that eventually the men that were staying back and doing things that the military actually needed to conduct the war, like different, you know, operational things back in the UK, that those guys eventually had to get given a badge, like a king's badge or something, so that they could walk around without getting shamed in public everywhere they went for not being in fighting war. And you can't even imagine what would happen in the modern day age with all the stuff they have if, you know, a new type of thing where that type took place. Like, you know, I'm 32, so I would probably be, if there was a draft or whatever, I'd probably get stuck right back into it with no choice. But, you know, maybe there would be other countries where you had a choice to fight or not. And I can only imagine the societal pressure they would put on people to go and fight in this ridiculous war that no one wants except for the banksters, so they can have this big societal cataclysm where they can then offer, you know, a one world government under probably the friggin' Pope, you know, save us all from the war that they created themselves.
Yeah, you're totally right, you know, and when they try and pull this stuff, man, you know, I don't think that they'll roll out the Pope and go, hey, here's the Pope, you will all worship him now and he's your leader. I don't think they'll do that. What I think they're going to do is they're going to roll out some frontman guy who's like the lead singer of the band. You know, he's cool, he's got the right hair, he's got the right dress, he's got the right talk, you know what I mean? He's got a good sounding voice and all the rest of it. that's who the people are going to fall for. You know what I mean? It's going to be some charismatic guy. He's not going to be necessarily kind of tied to any particular religion, you know, because the Pope is, whether we like it or not, the Pope is attached to Christianity, even though I would definitely call him the biblical Antichrist, you know, because he even claims himself to be the replacement or the Christ on earth. In his own words, you know, even his own title, the Vicar of Christ, it means the substitute of Christ, you know. And if you look at the Greek where it says Antichrist in the Bible, it means exactly that, substitute or in opposition to or in the place of, you know. And he is most definitely in the place of Jesus Christ on this earth, according to him, of course. I wouldn't say that at all. Yeah. But yeah. Sorry, go on.
Are you aware that not long ago, the Vatican bought the Jerusalem?
Oh, yeah.
So you know, a lot of people think they did that to put up the third temple. Now, what do you think about the whole third temple thing, like from your perspective?
Right, yeah, the third temple. I was talking about this the other night, in fact, to a brother in Christ that's staying with me at the minute, and I must have chewed his ear off for about 2 hours explaining all this stuff to him about the third temple and Daniel's 70th week. And basically, I call this thing the Daniel deception, right? Because what is going on in the world at the minute, basically, is a reenactment or a false re-fulfillment of a prophecy known as the 70th week prophecy. Now, mainstream Christianity, for the most part anyway, would tell you that the 70th week has yet to be fulfilled. Okay? Now, this final week in the 70 weeks is what people base the 7-year tribulation on. Right? Now, no doubt you've heard of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is what mainstream Christians believe, that at some point in the future, right, an Antichrist is going to stand in a temple, obviously a Jewish temple, and therefore the third temple, because there was 2 previously, right? So he's going to stand in this temple, and obviously for him to actually stand in a temple, there has to be one built, right? Because there isn't one. It was destroyed in 70 AD by Rome, you see. Now, so for him to stand in this temple, it has to be built. But here's the thing. This is all pretty much based on Daniel 9:27, just one verse. And it says, he shall make a covenant, right? And this he, who's not mentioned by name, mainstream Christianity believes that this he, there you go, there it's there, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, right? So he's talking about the sacrifices and oblations that take place in the Jewish temples as they do in Judaism. You know, it's called the Day of Atonement, where they take a lamb and they sacrifice it, right? But as we're well aware, Jesus Christ is the Lamb of God. He is the final sacrifice for the sins of the world, right? Mm-hmm. So when the temple was destroyed in 70 AD, that was 40 years after, approximately 40 years after Christ was crucified on the cross. Now, when it says here, and for the overspreadings of abominations, he shall make it desolate, this is talking about the sacrifices and the oblations continuing on after Jesus Christ has paid the debt in full. You see, Jesus Christ paid the debt in full on the cross, ending the sacrifice and oblation. All right, just as it says there, the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. Okay, so how long was Jesus Christ's ministry for before he died? It was 3.5 years. Now, these weeks, when it talks about 70 weeks, these weeks are 7 years for 1 week, okay? Now, as you can see here, it says, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, 7 years, okay? Now, I don't have time to explain why that's 7 years, but just take my word for it, that's what it is, 7 years. And then it says, in the midst of the week, so in the middle of the week, right? So what's half of 7? 3.5 years, right?
Yep.
Jesus Christ's ministry was 3.5 years. He died on the cross, and he caused the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, because he was the final ultimate sacrifice for the sins of the world. He is the Lamb of God, and that's what the Jews would be sacrificing every year on the Day of Atonement. They'd sacrifice a lamb, and the reason why they would do that is to foreshadow the sacrifice that the true Lamb of God would do, and he did on the cross. But mainstream Christianity doesn't believe this. Mainstream Christianity believes that this verse here is talking about the Antichrist. Right? So guess who came up with that idea? Guess who came up with that theology of Daniel 9:27 being talking about the Antichrist? Well, that was a Jesuit priest called Francisco Ribera. Now, after the Protestant Reformation, the Jesuits were formed, and they were formed ultimately to destroy the Protestant Reformation. Now, one of the ways that they undertook this was a philosophy called learning against learning. So what that basically means is whatever it is that you learn in school, they're going to come along and put their own theology and learning against yours, so that eventually your kids are you're going to grow up believing and learning like a Jesuit, okay? And what they want you to learn, this is why they've took over the schools. And the Jesuits run all the Bible theology colleges as well, make no mistake about that. Now, for 300 years, nobody, no Christian believer believed any of this Jesuit interpretation of Daniel 9:27. Nobody. But after 300 years, Protestants started losing their true beliefs to the Bible, right? They were becoming apostate, basically. False doctrine was creeping into the church, and that was because of 300 years of Jesuits fighting against true Bible believers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people started believing this alternative theology about Daniel 9:27 being about the Antichrist. Now, the reason they came up with this was to deflect attention away from the Pope, because all of the Protestant reformers pointed the finger at the Pope and said that's the Antichrist. Now, in order to combat that, they came up with a whole bunch of theories, like I just told you. This theory is called futurism, and it basically puts forth the idea that the Antichrist is not the Pope, it's some guy in the future, a one-man supervillain that will reign for the last 7 years of time, and it will be called the Great Tribulation, wherein the Antichrist is a good guy for the first 3.5 years, and then he breaks a peace treaty, right? The covenant that's spoken about in Daniel 9:27, but that covenant is the covenant that Jesus Christ brought in, the new covenant, you know, that we are all under his blood, we are saved by faith, yeah? So, and this is what's going on. This whole, what is going on in the world is the Jesuits and the popes trying to arrange things so that they can make it look like a fulfillment of Daniel's 70th week is just taking place. Now, in order to do all this, they need to build a temple in Jerusalem. Now, you were talking about how the Pope has come under, somebody has sold the Pope land in Jerusalem. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, they did a land deal. That Jerusalem land deal.
Yeah. And this is a recent thing, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Vatican now in control of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Here, Israel News Live. Vatican now in control of Jerusalem. You know, you can find a bunch of articles on this, but basically, there's a land deal that was done, and now the Vatican basically controls all of Jerusalem, which is interesting for those who say it's just the Zionists that run the world. Well, if that was the case, then why would the Zionists sell the Vatican Jerusalem?
That's a very good point, Titus. You know what I mean? People really need to understand this, okay? The Zionist Jews are subordinate to the Jesuits. They really are. They really are. They answer to the Pope. That's why they have that little symbol on their flags, you know, the alleged Star of David, okay? It's a symbol from Babylon, you know? It's... And the priests of Babylon, by the way, they immigrated and they ended up in Rome. It was the priests of Babylon that started the Catholic Church way back, way back in the 3rd century, you know. So when people say Zionists rule the world, yeah, sure, they're high up and they're doing things and they're high-level Freemasons and whatever else. But at the end of the day, they've got a boss as well. And their boss is the Black Pope. They answer to him. This is why when people say like things like the Zionists control all media worldwide or whatever, you know, I'm like, well, how come Israel get badmouthed a lot? Why does Israel get bad press if Israel owns all the press? And if it's really owned by Zionists, right? If it truly is owned by Zionists and they can print anything they like, they can broadcast anything they like, why do they never expose the actions of the Catholic Church against the Jews for the past 2,000 years? Nothing's ever said about it. Nothing's ever exposed about Hitler and the fact that he was a Jesuit and he was a Catholic, and their whole system of the SS was modeled around the Jesuits. He answered to the Pope. The very guy that put Hitler into power was a Jesuit. I can't remember his name. You can look it up. It's true. It's a true fact. So when people say Zionists rule the world, I have to disagree. They don't rule the world. To me, if you want my explanation, the Zionists are like the accountants of the corporation. Okay? They handle the money. They're high up. They've got responsibilities, you know? But they're not the CEO, you know? That's how I see it. And
it's interesting you say that, because in my book, I sort of theorize the same exact thing, where when you look at the financial stuff, it all seems to go back to the Rothschilds. But if you look back in history, the Knights Templar all would give all of their money to the organization. So you have to wonder if the Rothschilds aren't just the banksters for this, like, you know, modern day Knights Templar Jesuit sort of, you know, Illuminati organization.
Yeah, I think you're totally right there, Titus. I really do, because everything that I've researched that points in that direction. Okay, the Rothschilds are even known as the guardians of the papal treasury, you know. So, and you mentioned Templars there, right? The Templars had the first international banking system that's comparable to modern day banking. You know, like you could trace banking back to Babylon, but the banks back in Babylon were not comparable to modern banking. You know, the Templars system is used to this very day by the Rothschilds. It's the exact same fiat system. You can deposit your money in, say, Switzerland. You can travel to, say, Geneva or Frankfurt and withdraw your money there. That was the Templars' way of doing things, and that's exactly what the Rothschilds do to this day.
Yeah, they used to run they were called commanderies, right? Where they used to store the money back in the day. And that was how they did it, you know. And it's the same thing going on. It's the exact same banking system going on today that they used back then. And it's the same symbols and everything. Like, as you said, the Star of David is the black sun, right? And the black sun is the logo of the Jesuits, right? You can see it right here.
Oh yeah, the Star of David is the sun symbol, and maybe read Ezekiel chapter 8 for all you out there, because I'm pretty sure that talks about sun symbols being in the temple, and then it ends with go into the temple and see the abominations that they're all doing in there, and the worst thing that they're doing is worshipping the sun. They're all facing east and bowing down to the sun, you know.
Yeah.
And this, you know, that was Jews doing that. That was Jews doing that. You know, the Jews have a history of turning their backs on God, and then God has to, you know, punish them to get them back on the right track. And it happens all throughout history, and it's happening today as well. If you read Ezekiel chapter 36, that chapter will explain to you what has happened to the history, the modern history of Israel from, say, the turn of the 19th century up until today. Ezekiel 36 maps it all out for you, and it says that they would be brought back to the land in unbelief, you know, so that they wouldn't go back to that land being true worshippers of God. They'd go back to that land in unbelief, and that is true. They've turned their ways to like things like Kabbalah, and a lot of them are secular as well, so they don't even believe in any God. They're just like atheists now, you know. But once they're back in the land, God says that he will sprinkle water on them and clean them up. Now, this water I take to be belief in Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ is known as the living water. Okay, and who could clean you up bar Christ? No one, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. It's a great point. This is why I love having you on my channel, because you know all the scripture that I couldn't possibly remember. I don't know how you can recall all this, but it's just, you know, obviously people, and myself included, need to pick their Bible up more often. So
yeah, well, a good way. I often listen to it. So if you've got like an internet connection, you can go on Bible Gateway, or here on YouTube, you can get audio Bibles. I just stick it on and just have it playing, just like, you know, in the background. That's a good way. If you haven't got time to read, you can listen, you know. Yeah,
it's a good point. Instead of listening to the garbage conspiracy nonsense on YouTube, you can give it a
Mandela effect, you know. Instead of watching a video on is the world going to end on the 23rd of September, pick up the Bible and find out that no, it's actually not going to end on the 23rd of September, because no man knows the day or the hour, you know. And if anybody's sitting there claiming to you or your listeners or anybody else, like, I know the day Jesus Christ is coming back, they're a liar, and they're calling Christ a liar. So you should watch out for that.
I might be on air broadcasting this very broadcast when the 23rd of September hits here in the United States. In some countries, isn't it already the 23rd of September?
Yeah, I'm 4 hours into the 23rd, so far so good.
Yeah, so much like the Shemitah, which was garbage pushed last year by people like the Dollar Vigilante, is another one of these ridiculous conspiracies that people invest way too much energy and time into, because there's never any evidence for it. It's all just assumptions based on ridiculousness.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? I like watching videos as much as anybody else. I like hearing a good theory as much as anybody else. Even if it's not true, do you know what I mean? I still like to hear good theories put forth. And then I can sit there and decide, well, no, I don't actually agree with that because of this or this or this. But if it's like somebody saying, hold on, court Jew families and European royals run the entire world. Well, the court Jews that you're talking about, Scully, is papal court Jews, you know. papal court Jews. That's how the Rothschilds began. They began their whole entire business serving the Prince of Hesse. So if you look that up, the Prince of Hesse, and you'll see how their business started. And it basically started with, there was a war and the Prince of Hesse had to flee, and he left his fortune with the Rothschilds. And when he came back, they had made money on it, and they gave them his money back, and that was £9 million. And that was in old money, so you can imagine the amounts of money you're talking about here. But
Is that Hess related to the Rudolf Hess that was the second in command to Hitler?
I don't know if he's related, but it's definitely the same name. It's spelled the same, Hesse.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to look up, because there was a whole thing about the strange case of Rudolf Hess, if people want to look that up as well, which would sort of connect to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. Yeah.
Scully, the Jews on the Pope, dude. I'm sorry, Scully, but you're wrong. All right. The Bible does not identify a Jewish Antichrist. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll get into the chat with people later tonight. I'm sure it's always going to be interesting, but it is what it is. But basically, we got into this whole discussion because of the Silk Road thing and this,
Right. What rabbit hole we went down? Yeah, sorry.
But I mean, yeah. So bring it back full circle here. So this impending war that looks like one of the reasons, it's getting closer and closer, stuff like this. You can see Chinese cargo train arrives in Russia, right? And China moves on oil markets to overthrow U.S. petrodollar dominance as world reserve currency. So the top world oil importer, China, is preparing to launch a crude oil futures contract denominated in Chinese yuan and convertible into gold, allowing oil exporters to bypass the U.S. dollar denominated benchmarks by trading oil for yuan, Nike Asan Review reported. And also there's an interesting article here, just came out on September 1st. China sees New World Order with oil benchmark backed by gold. So you can see that they're making moves, and this is the type of moves that will lead to the powers that shouldn't be leading us all into war. I mean, this is the type of stuff that was taking place in the lead up to World War I with these alliances and these trade deals. And when you start talking about, these massive oil deals and these things going on, most of Europe gets its oil from Russia. One of Chinese largest crude oil importers, as you can see here, 30% of their crude oil imports come from Russia. Okay. Yeah. And it says only 14.5% now. It wasn't that long ago that it was like 60% was coming from Iran, but still 14.5% of their imports are coming from Iran. And Russia has signed a defensive treaty with Iran. So if anyone attacks Iran, Russia will automatically come in on their side. And you can just see what's going on here. And when you look at these territorial disputes going on here in the South China Sea, it's not looking too good. These straits here, I believe one of them is called the Strait of Malacca. Very tight areas, but something like 50% of the world's ships for trade go through this tiny little area. Yeah. And they're building these islands now, and a lot of them are operational. You can see, look at this. It's almost all artificial. They're building these things. They're bringing boats in to build these things. And then, you have everyone disagreeing over who owns what. You have incidents with fishermen, which, brings back to my mind the Gulf of Tonkin thing, right? You know, if there's another Gulf of Tonkin incident, which was proven fake false flag incident, but it started the Vietnam War, in which 58,000 Americans were killed and countless Vietnamese were killed for nothing. Nothing. And we're getting to a point where God knows what would happen if, you know, some Chinese ship shot at an American ship or something out here. One interesting thing is when you do look at the size of the Chinese Navy. So like the US Navy has, I believe, 10 aircraft carriers. China just launched their first aircraft carrier. And the rest of their Navy is roughly the same size. But as Corbett points out here, you know, that was sort of the case with Germany in World War I, where the British had a massive advantage in sea power. And, you know, the Germans did everything they could to catch up as quickly as possible. And the Chinese are now doing that as well. I mean, they have plans for another aircraft carrier, and they're building ships and things as quickly as possible that are all as high tech as they can possibly make it to try to catch up as quickly as they can, because they know that in order for their Silk Road thing to actually, you know, this one belt, one road thing, for this to maintain this here, they need to be able to control the sea. And that is going to lead to major problems. Another thing that they just did, and let's see, had it bookmarked, but I don't know where I left it, so I'll just search for it again. But let's go here and just go home so I can get to start page and search for it. China base Djibouti. Now the Chinese have just put massive, here we go, satellite photos. Okay, this is already in the description box, this article, if people want to go see it. But you can see satellite photos reveal underground construction at Chinese military base in Djibouti. Okay, now Djibouti is on the Red Sea. So if you look at this here, you see this trade route that goes, you know, from like Hong Kong and China here down through these islands that are highly contentious right now, down through this tiny strait here and across the Indian Ocean, and then up here. Now this tiny little strait here, right in here, that gives you access to the Red Sea, which would give you access to the Suez Canal and the Mediterranean and the markets of Europe. There's a tiny little country here called Djibouti. And in that country, the US has military bases, and now China has military bases there. So you go back to the, where'd that damn article go? CNN garbage. All right, here we go. So here's the pictures. They're building this like underground thing. Interestingly, they haven't built any docks on a base that's supposed to be servicing that strait. So that's pretty interesting. But that probably means what they have there is submarine pens of some sort of type, because it's all underground. So that would probably make the most sense. They probably build the submarine pens first, and then the rest. You can see here, this is Djibouti, this tiny little country here that connects basically the Gulf of Aden to the Red Sea. And this type of area right here, where you now have a Chinese military base in this country and an American military base in this country, that's recipe for trigger point. Okay. Yeah. And right across the way, you have Yemen, where you have all types of warfare going on in basically a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. So it's just, the trigger points are getting more and more numerous, and it's getting worrisome in terms of what's going on here.
It's interesting, that map. It's really interesting where they've put those two bases. It's just right on the cusp of Ethiopia. Can you bring that map back up again, Titus, please?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So this Djibouti here, it's right next to Ethiopia, right? And it's right on the coast. Interestingly, we were talking about Ezekiel 38 earlier. Ethiopia is one of the nations that's in league with the invaders of Israel. So Ethiopia, Egypt, they're all in there, Iran. And then, interestingly, the Arabs are also mentioned in chapter 38 as well, and Britain, but that's another thing. So when this invasion of Israel happens, right, and it seems to me everything you're pointing out here, Titus, is like them, like you said, it's like a trigger point, right? It's getting ready for something, you know? They wouldn't be building bases down there for no reason, you know? And it's interesting that Ethiopia, the land of Cush, is mentioned, and Ezekiel 38 is one of the nations that's in this conglomerate of invaders that attacks Israel. And the only opposition offered comes from Britain, and it comes from these Arab nations down here. In the Bible, they're called Sheba and Dedan. This would be Oman and the United Arab Emirates and the eastern side of Saudi Arabia. This is Sheba and Dedan. Britain, Sheba and Dedan offer opposition to the invaders of Israel. And it's interesting because Britain is named as Tarshish in the Bible. I've done a video on that. You can check it on my channel. It's called Brexit is Biblical. And what happens in this chapter is that when the invasion comes into Israel, Britain and all the young lions, this is the language that the Bible uses, Tarshish and all the young lions thereof will offer opposition to the invaders. Now it's interesting because if Tarshish really is Britain, who are the young lions? So that would be the Commonwealth nations that Britain has under its wing. If you go back to, like we were talking about World War II and World War I, if you go back to World War II, you'll find propaganda posters with lions all on it, and they're asking you to sign up for the British Army. And the kind of slogan or the title, the text is like, "Come and join Britain and all its young lions." And I thought that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
I can't find it real quick.
Yeah, you should do. It'll come up.
Stand firm.
There's one, the wee gold one there. That's it.
The overseas states all answer the call. Help by the young lions. The old lion defends his foes. Enlist now. This is First World War. So yeah, another parallel, right, to what
exactly
what we're talking about.
Yeah. So we're in my opinion, Ezekiel 38 is like, it's going to happen in the next, I don't know, 5 years, maybe sooner. I'm not putting any dates on anything, but the signs are there. The pieces are all in position. It looks like that's going to be happening. I mean, war is inevitable over there with all this going on. It's prophesied. There you go. Who are the merchants of Tarshish? I would say Britain. I've done a great video on it. You can go watch that, everybody that's listening, after the show and whatever else. But yeah, Tarshish is Britain, and it makes sense because the young lions are the Commonwealth nations. So that would mean Canada. I don't know if America can be described as a young lion anymore because it's kind of grown up and independent now. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not too sure if America's going to provide opposition to Russia, but if Trump's in office, it kind of looks like he would, you know.
I can't find your video here.
Yeah, that's it. Oh no, that's not it. That's, the top link was the one.
Some other thing. Who knows? Run to Christ. Run to Christ exposed, dude. I wonder what's in there. That might even be.
Oh, Jesus. Our Jew.
I love how that automatically pops up on the thing without. I've never even searched that term, but of course it's like the number 2 thing. Or Shit. People, if you don't know how to use this, people always are like, oh, you haven't covered this, that, or the other. There's this thing called a channel search bar. It makes it really easy to find things that we've covered in the past. If you have questions like, have you covered this?
Yeah.
This must be the video here. I definitely saw this when you did it because I remember doing a thing on the Brexit that we talked about at the time. But this is the video here. It's called Brexit, Mind-Blowing Unfolding of Biblical Prophecy. Britain is the Merchants of Tarshish. And what I'll do is I'll put this video in the link, so in the description box, so people can find it if they're watching this on my main channel, like tomorrow when I re-upload it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, it's quite an interesting video. I really enjoyed making that one. Because the prophecies just seem to be like happening right now, and you know, so all the pieces are, and there you go. Look, there you got it on traded in global markets, right? So trade routes have always been important, even in biblical times. It goes way back to the Phoenicians. If you can see those trade routes all the way around Africa, there's like a line.
Yep.
That was the trade routes of the olden days, you know, because they didn't have the Suez Canal to go through and take a shortcut, you know. So the Phoenicians used to run that line, and that's why they had the strongest empire of the age, you know. And it is also prophesied in the Bible that trade route that you're seeing right there, that trade route would fall into the hands of Tarshish, and that's exactly what happened with the East India Company.
Yeah, and that's exactly what China is trying to challenge.
Yeah, it's like exactly right.
To break in and create. It's a longer one, but it's pretty much the same route. Same markets.
It's coming from the east and then cutting out Africa, cutting out the long journey around Africa by going through the Suez Canal.
Yeah,
and it's going to cause problems. It really is.
It's really interesting. Yeah, people should definitely go back and, you know, give this video a watch. Obviously, you nailed on some important points in here. Your videos are always really well done, so be interesting to go back and watch this in light of all this new stuff that's coming out.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing that, in fact, because I've noticed that things that we were all talking about a year ago and things like that are kind of relevant now. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Like Kim Jong-un, he was crowned, or not crowned or whatever, but they called him the great son of the 21st century. I was like, the great son, yeah. They have a weird religion, by the way. Have you ever looked at it? It's really strange.
What is it? All must worship Kim Jong-un.
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Juche or something, Juche. And it's basically like a humanist, sort of like self-centered, like mankind is God and mankind can do anything that they put their mind to type deal, you know? And I was like, no idea they were into that.
Well, I mean, you're telling me this guy couldn't do anything that he put his mind to? Look at that.
He's been working out, hasn't he?
I touched on this before, and people told me, I can't confirm it, that he's a Freemason. And I've seen this hand symbol. It's called the hidden hand. And I've seen lots of people use this, including the Rothschilds themselves.
Ted Cruz.
Yeah, right.
Ted does that one too.
Ted Cruz?
Yeah, he does that hand, sticks it in his coat like that.
Yeah.
That he does. Nice to have you back. How was what were you guys discussing on the other side?
Yeah, the hidden hand, man. Yeah, you can find a picture of Pope Francis with that exact same sort of pose. He's riding on a bus.
Yeah, there he is. Ted Cruz pulling it right there.
Yeah.
He's tucked into his jacket there.
Yep.
Why would you do that while you're sitting there? You know, I mean, they're doing the...
There's absolutely no purpose to do that unless you're doing it for a specific reason.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Now, are you still live, Titus? Because when I joined, it said the live stream ended, but I still see the live tab in the corner.
No, I'm still live.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was weird. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Gotta love YouTube, dude. They make it so easy to do this. It's unbelievable. They don't mess with my channel at all. They just are really helpful in helping me build my audience and get my message out there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's what they do.
In fact, they sent me an invitation because I had 25,000 subscribers to go to some seminar in New York City. And I obviously did not go to said seminar because I have no interest in getting told on how to brand my friggin' channel.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to go hang out with a bunch of lipstick models?
Is that what? I don't even know.
I mean, that's like the going thing on YouTube now, right? It's like makeup tutorials and like people eating food or something. I don't know. Not really sure. It's like everything but good content.
Oh, and you know what was really weird today was in my subscriptions feed, they put, what was it? It was this really weird video, and it's not there now, but...
Just for the record, I'd love to do eating food channel. That'd be awesome.
But they put this weird shit in my channel that was from YouTube Red in my thing. And it was like the worst video I've ever seen. I'm looking at trending now. This is what's trending on YouTube. It's just ridiculous garbage.
You don't have YouTube Red though. Well, at least
I have it for free right now.
You have it for free, you said?
Yeah, they gave me like a 3-month free trial or something.
Yeah, I got the 3 months for 99 cents, and then I paid for it for about 6 months because I actually did really enjoy not having a whole load of commercials and things like that. I'm like, man, this is nice, and I really enjoyed downloading videos before I left for work, and then listen to them in my car rather than streaming them.
Yeah.
And but then after YouTube started playing all of its games, I'm like, I don't even know if creators that I watch are getting my share of the YouTube Red. I just don't know, because I know when I look at my analytics, I get like 8 cents a month from YouTube Red, and I'm like, they ain't getting $10 out of me for this service. I'll just deal with a commercial.
Yeah, it's not worth it, but you know.
No.
Anyway, so I was going through my subscriptions today. Like, I just like go through like, you know, what new videos have popped up in my subscription feed. In my subscription feed, for no reason at all, because I'm not subscribed to this crap, was this video here. When I click on YouTube Red Originals, of course, it's the featured video today. But this Ryan Hansen Solves Crimes on Television official trailer. So they're not notifying my subscribers when I go live. They're not notifying my subscribers when a new video goes up. They're not, you know, I have people messaging me multiple times a week that they're unsubscribing them to my channel for no reason. Yet they're putting this bullshit in my subscription feed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Intentionally pushing certain people. People that they have ties to. When it's YouTube Red, that means YouTube stands to benefit a lot from that.
Yeah. And it was garbage. I mean, the reason why people left television and started watching YouTube was because television is crap. But now they're putting TV shows on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, why? No one wants to watch this. If they wanted to watch this stuff, they would still be paying for their cable packages and watching this stuff on TV. I don't understand what the point of this crap is.
Well, you must be programmed, Titus. That's what it's at. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Nobody's sitting on the tube anymore, like, you know, watching regular TV. They need to put all their programs that they put on there, and they need to put them in a place where you can access them on your phone while you go to work.
Well, I mean, I had a woman today I talked to. She had showed up down at that apartment building that I was volunteering at, and she's like, you know, I did everything in my power to try to make this, you know, your video about this apartment go viral. And she's like, You know, she's like, nobody wanted to watch it. I said, well, as one, you ain't gonna be able to get anything real to go viral. You know, I said, if it was a picture of me dancing around naked or something, I said, you probably would have got it to go viral. I said, but it was because it was more of a call to action to come volunteer for a whole bunch of displaced senior citizens and vets. No one's gonna show up, you know, and it's definitely not gonna go viral because that's just not how this works. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. These systems are designed to snuff people like me and the people that I deal with out.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want people like me that can walk anywhere in the fucking world, sorry about my language, and shake a hand. They don't like that, you know. They want people to want to fight each other.
And I can prove they're manipulating your channel right now because I didn't watch it on my laptop. Maybe that's why it's not showing it. I watched it on my phone. But I watched all of these videos.
And it shows, and it doesn't show the bar, which means I didn't get credit for your view.
It shows one. It shows this one is the only one I've watched. But I've watched all of these.
That's, yeah. And I know exactly what you're saying because I've went back to videos. You know, that red bar, not only does it mark that you've watched it, but it saves your place.
Yeah.
And I've went back to videos and it started from the beginning again. And I'm like, ugh, I can't remember what minute marker I was at, you know?
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
It's like you put anything real up, they just manipulate the view counts on it and make it look like it's less popular so that it doesn't show up in search results and things.
Yeah. Have you heard the lovely new review policy?
Well, I can't even imagine.
You know when you get a video demonetized, right? And you can appeal it?
Yep.
And there's a button for like manual review or something like that, yeah?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, nowadays, right, I just noticed this like 2 weeks ago. They demonetized 71 videos on my channel. And I was like, what? These videos have been monetized for like 2 years and now you're demonetizing them? So I clicked on it to, you know, get a manual review. And you know what it says? It says, your video will be reviewed once it goes over 1,000 views in 48 hours. So if your video ain't getting 1,000 hits every 2 days, then your video ain't getting reviewed.
Right. They demonetize it at the most crucial time. I mean, you have 48 hours from the time you upload that video, when really, now they'll tell you 48 hours, but the honest truth is you have 1 day for that video to reach your subscribers and the people that they share with. Once you go beyond that 24 to 48 hours, that video will never gain the amount of views that YouTube would deem advertiser friendly or any of the above. But they'll demonetize it right off the bat, and then you'll 2 days later you'll try to get a review, or a day later you'll try to get a review, but they'll do anything they can just to shut you down. Now, I've never made any kind of money off of YouTube videos, so it's never been like a topic or an issue with me. Like, really, I think I've had a pretty good average of about, you know, maybe $20 a month off of my YouTube channels, all of them combined. That is, you know, so, you know, I'll review them if I'm sitting at my computer, but I do 99% of my stuff from my phone, and you can't review from your phone unless you try to go through like a mobile browser, and then you got to pinch and squeeze and hope you tap the right spot. It's not worth it sometimes, you know. It just isn't.
So many tabs I've opened up and I'm like, no, I just wanted to click confirm.
Right, yeah. Or you go to click on something and then it's not the one you wanted to click on, and now all of a sudden you got to wait for the page to load just so you can hit back and wait for the page to load again.
That's it. I mean, see, sharing something, see if you want to just share an image on your phone, I'm like, oh, well, first I got to go find it and then transfer it and then put it on whatever, you know, Twitter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Titus, man, I want to stay in chat, man, but I'm totally exhausted. It's 10 o'clock in Houston, well, 10:12, but I got to get up, and we got a project we got to work on tomorrow. We're gonna try to help this family get a livable living space for. It's a 6-person family, and I got to try to get some rest, because unlike today where I was at least sheltered from the sun, tomorrow I won't be.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to come on earlier. I joined in, but then my wife kept calling, so I had to get on the phone with her, and now I'm just tired, man.
Yeah, I hear you, man, and I really do appreciate all the work that you're doing down there in Houston. I have family down there and lots of friends, and I know that whole area has been tragically affected, and you have organizations like the Red Cross that are just stealing people's money. And
Still ain't seen him. I still ain't seen him anywhere.
Yeah, and we have people like you that are actually down there directly helping people out that can use any financial support people can have, and you don't have organizations like the NFL plugging your GoFundMes and stuff like that. So definitely let me know what links people can go to support you, other than just the Patreon link, which obviously you're on Patreon. So I'll put that link in the description box for both of you guys. But anything you want to plug directly where people can help you?
You know, actually, if anybody wants to just, there's the Facebook page I created. It's called Citizen Action Network. You can find it under the name Citizen Action Network, but its direct URL is facebook.com/stay at the ready. One word, stay at the ready. And really, you'll find links to everything on that. I'm trying to coordinate all the disaster relief through that Facebook page, the fundraisers or groups or different social media platforms, or who needs help or what. You know, as much as I hate Facebook, that small platform is more it's more functionable than it is to try to use Twitter and to try to use Patreon and to try to use GoFundMe all separately, you know, because they don't limit you really, and a lot of people use it and share from there. So like the GoFundMe links are on that page. Everything you can find is there. So you know, if there's a way that you want to help, you'll definitely be able to find it from there, whether it's monetary or if you are in the area, because I keep trying to say, you know, what I did here this time was so different than things I've done in the past, where this time I flew to Texas and I decided I was going to take the money that I generated, and instead of wasting it on gas to haul heavy supplies that I don't even know if they'll be needed by the time I get here, and treating each individual situation case by case and spending the money directly in the local economy, because they have supplies here. You just need someone to pay for them. You know, that's the problem. So every case by case, and buy the money here in the local economy and bring the supplies to where it needs to be. And it's working out so much better than it has in the past, where I've loaded trucks and drove 1,800 miles to get supplies somewhere. It's like water costs nothing. It's pennies on the dollar, and I spent hundreds in gas. I'm a moron, you know. But I'm learning. I'm learning more and more and more how to do this fiscally responsible and help people at the same time. Another thing with bringing supplies across country is, once you get them here, you now need 3 volunteers to catalog them, sort them, and disperse them, deliver them, and get them out there, you know. So there's so much going on when you do things that way, that I found now I can focus 100% on help, and I don't need another volunteer to help me help. Yeah. So, you know, I said the only way we're ever going to be able to get rid of inflating government is to make them irrelevant. So that's what I'm trying to do is teach people that it's actually okay, you know. I know it's preachy, but it's okay to actually take your days off like me. You know, I got off work yesterday morning at 6 a.m. from the steel mill, and I took a nap and got on a fucking plane and flew to Houston, you know. And when I go home Tuesday, I land at 8 o'clock at night, and I have to be at work at 5 a.m. the next morning. So, you know, I'm doing it on my days off, and it's and that's just the way I want to do it, and I don't criticize the way anybody else wants to do it either. I think anybody that wants to help in any way is cool, and I got a dog out of it also.
Are you keeping that dog? I saw that.
Well, I can't get rid of him at this point. We've been training him. We got him to the vet and got everything squared away. He has an appointment to get his little pecker chopped off. So yeah, I know. I gotta keep him from making a bunch more little mutts, but
You're like Bill Gates of dogs now, dude.
Right? Yeah, I know. I'm in the mutt eugenics program. Yeah, mutt cuts. So, but I'm not gonna try to rehome him now. It's at first, right then and there, when we had all 16 dogs total that we rescued, he was the last one that nobody wanted. And I'm like, you know what? Get in the truck. You're going for a ride. And I mean, he didn't pee in my truck. He just sat in the back, the whole way, or he jumped up and sat, on a lap in the front seat, and he didn't, no accidents. He waited till we stopped for gas to take a whiz. And I'm like, you know what? You're an okay feller. So
you're a keeper.
Right. So I brought him home, took him, what else you gonna do? He's I named him Tex. He's my little Houston, Texas rescue dog.
No. Dog's a rescue dog too. I think they make the best dogs.
Yeah, well, they've been through this little guy. I know he's been through a lot because he has his little nightmares, and you can just tell, like, he was different when I found him than he is now. He's definitely a changed dog. So I can only imagine, if he had other brothers or siblings, or who knows, you never know, and if they, or what happened. But I can tell you, those dogs, they were all in pretty bad shape when we were scooping them up on the last trip. Houston itself was in a bad shape when we came last time. It's nice to see a lot of it being put back together. Now, the apartment complex we were at today was pretty sad. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the story, but there's 200 people are evicted. That's that. There ain't no saving it. And I spent the whole day packing one apartment. I mean, these people they live there. It's their place, and they got to go. They're condemning the building, and you look around the neighborhood and you know why they're condemning it. I mean, the whole thing is in a revival. There's new hoity-toity restaurants and nice condos and real luxury bourgeois, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I like it. It's someplace I would live. But then right in the middle of it all, you have this 13-story eyesore. So there's definitely some dirty deals going on in the back room on this place. And and FEMA's there, and nobody would even know that they were there. Yeah, that's the apartment right there. Yep. Nobody would even know that FEMA was there if it wasn't for my wife stumbling on them in their little sinister meeting. She was helping deliver mail from before the flood. They took all the mail out of the boxes and put them in like a bin to rescue them. And then she sorted it out and tried to deliver it today, and she knocked on a door to deliver some mail, and a FEMA rep opened the door, and she said there was a bunch of FEMA in there having a meeting, and she's like, I got a package for so-and-so, and they're like, yeah, well, they moved out already. And she's like, well, who do I give this package to if you're in their apartment? They're like, well, we're using this apartment for meetings now. And she's like, so what do I do with the guy's mail if he's gone then? So that was pretty weird for when she's telling me this story about them being in there, but they were nowhere in sight where people needed help. They weren't carrying boxes, they weren't cleaning up, they weren't helping people pack, they weren't delivering food. They were having meetings in people's apartments.
FEMA, I did see news articles that FEMA had moved in and was talking about how they needed to set up permanent facilities in Texas because of this hurricane. And
yeah, they'll be doing limited help forever. Like the voucher program that they set up, that they have millions of dollars reserved for the voucher programs. They only go to people that had a 100% loss of property, and it doesn't cover 100% of the property value. They did the same thing in West Virginia when I did the West Virginia relief, 2015, I think it was. That was the one where it was me and Richie from Boston did that one, and they were giving those people, they lost their whole house, 100% loss, total loss on property. They gave them listen to this, you ready? $33,000.
Where did they come up with that number, I wonder?
I don't know, but I'm sure it wasn't a totally anonymous pick, you know. I'm sure they didn't look into a catalog somewhere and they said, well, every house in Raynell, West Virginia is worth about $33,000. Let's make it universal.
Yeah,
so
random. I'm sure it was random. It could
totally random. Yeah, just like the storm was randomly natural. Wrong.
Yeah, just they happened to know before it hit Texas that it was going to stall out over Texas, because that happened a lot, right?
It's the same thing that happened at the Raynell. Research the storm there, the 2015 storm in Raynell, West Virginia. It was a storm that came out of nowhere and parked right over top of this town and basically washed it down a mountain. I mean, that place was not prepared for rain. There was a whole apart, like a hotel complex on the hill. Well, it's on the mountainside, West Virginia. And, you know, the doors at those places all opened out. And you would think that that's weird, but in some cases, it's not. And I've experienced this firsthand, that doors opening inside is an actual safety hazard. The door needs to be pushed outwards. And all these doors at this hotel were outwards opening doors, and the floodwaters came down and they were 6 feet high. Actually, they were more than that, because the guy I was with is 6'5", and the grass line where the grass clippings were just floating on the standing water were over his head. So these doors were sealed shut as the room slowly filled to the ceiling with water, because you couldn't push the door open. So it's like, you think like, wow, that's got to be crazy. But it's sad, because every single one of those hotels along that strip had huge X's on the doors, and it had the body count on the dead side, not the alive side. It was very sad walking through there. It smelt bad, and you knew that it was just, everything was horrible about it. But it wasn't natural. It wasn't a natural storm. And I know they prepped for that storm before it happened, because digging through rubble, like the stuff that became rubble after the storm or because of the storm, I found Budweiser emergency water cans. The hell were they doing there already? It's like, you don't prep for a storm in a town that's never had a storm.
Yeah.
Not like that, you don't. Nothing that I've ever been, experienced with. But I've rambled on long enough. I really got to go get to bed, man. I appreciate you sending the link, Titus. I know I've been distant, man. I've just been between my day job and then my not so much day job anymore. I just don't even know how I maintain friendships with people anymore. I really don't.
Oh, dude, you're good. Like, I know I've been following your work. You've been mad busy. Like, I know that for sure. Like,
yeah. At the very least, people can catch me on Twitter rampages and stuff, and that's how they know I'm still alive. So, right. I don't even know. I just get the tweet, and sometimes I go back through my Twitter feed, and I'm like, man, I said some dumb shit yesterday. But
I had a little meltdown about some other truthers like a week ago or so, but I wasn't referencing either of you two.
Oh, well, you know what? To be honest, if you did, I didn't see it because Twitter doesn't allow me to see truthers. I have to have you guys in lists. Which I'm sure you probably know because you're in one, and I thought they gave people notifications when they get added to them. But that's the only way I know. I mean, even guys that I interact with, Eric's like one of my best friends, and we interact all day long on Twitter. I don't see him in my timeline. I have to go to his channel or my list to see what he's talking about on Twitter. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Everybody I deal with, it's all the same. It's like, why Why do I see things from people that I only follow them for very minimal information? And that's all I see. And it's because it's just the way Twitter's geared up. It wants me to see something. You know, and it's mostly geared towards left-right paradigm. That's really what it is. Kind of like the shitty hotel I'm staying in makes me listen to ear-bleeding. I listened to CNN for 30 minutes this morning eating cereal while they tried to tell me how good North Korea was. I'm like, I get it. I understand. You really hate Donald Trump. Awesome. Join America in saying you don't have to befriend Kim Jong just to prove you don't like Donald. You know? It's like seriously, I couldn't bear it anymore. I had to get up. I told my son my ears are going to bleed because they're talking. I mean, they have a special. I think it's tomorrow night, 8 or 9, and it's basically humanizing North Korea. They said, you've seen one side of North Korea, and it shows like Kim Jong and his rockets. He said, but have you seen the other? And now it's like a reporter hugging a little girl, and I'm like, oh no, here it comes. Here it comes, the soppy sob story. We're about to go and kill all these helpless little Korean people. I'm not pro-war, but I also think that fighting war is a lost cause until people realize that it's not about a $700 billion war bill that's the problem, that it's the killing people that's the problem. The world will be lost, and they'll never stop war. There's more people actually mad about spending $700 billion on killing people than actually killing people. So
yeah, that's amazing. That is
isn't that freaking amazing? That's what people are mad about. They're like, they're going to spend $700 billion on war. I said, how many people are going to die? They're like, well, I mean, it's $700 billion. You know, it's money. It's all about the money, man. Everybody's so brainwashed into the money. You know, it's just
the fake thing in their pocket. It's not even worth it.
Right.
In reality.
Right. It's not. I mean, now it does provide a lot. It provides a lot in a fictitious world. It provides fictitious joy. But all of that is real in reality. Now, to put it in another way, $700 billion don't exist. The lives that die do. You know, and people are not upset. They're not upset with the fact that we're going to be at war with the Middle East probably until they die of old age or some crazy disease. Only because they're upset with the money, not the death. When people finally get outraged over the amount of death, then we might see a change. But if it's only money, well, we can make money. We can invent more money. Money's not a problem. You know?
Right.
The problem is if it gets, those people worried just about the money. Well, if this shit really kicks off, like we were talking about how it looks like, China is trying to build this new Silk Road, basically, and you have NATO trying to encircle China, and you have this, dispute in the South China Sea that's boiling up, and you have them building bases in Djibouti, as you can see here. China's now building a base here. So it's looking more and more like, the North Korea thing is just another trigger point on their little game of chess, which you can see here. North Korea is the little pink country right here. That's one of these major chess pieces.
Yeah.
On this little game of Risk that they're playing. But the problem is if these countries go to war, like America and Britain and Israel versus Russia and China, it's not just going to kill the people who go to war. It's going to kill a whole shit ton of people just living in our countries and in every other country around the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, there's direct and then there's indirect. And you're right. Those are all indirect casualties of war.
I mean, God knows what friggin', biological weapons, nuclear weapons, different, various things that I've been covering for months and years, which is the different space tech they have, which is, things like Gods of Rod weapons and everything else. I mean, who knows what they have? No one really knows. And when they unleash that on the world, World War I changed the planet. Boundaries were redrawn. Monetary systems were completely overturned and changed. I can't even imagine.
And that could happen again. It can happen again, right? You'd believe that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too.
This article just came out today about, China's finalizing moves on oil markets to overthrow the U.S. petrodollar, and they're basically trying to create a new, SD. I mean, it's basically going to be through the SDR, in my opinion, and it's going to be based on gold and oil. And if you read the Group of 30, which is like a meeting of the central banksters that pretty much no one ever talks about, they talk about Group of 30. They talk about in their little thing, you can see here, look at one of these groups of 30 central banksters tied to the IMF. They talk about how they want to reset the economy in their publications. You can go through their publications.
See all them good-looking bald white fellers?
Yeah. But basically, they want to reset it, and this stuff, like that probably touches on it in here, but there's another one, like the history of central banking. And it says, like, they really don't care what the money is based on. Like, they don't care if it's a gold standard, if it's fiat, if it's whatever, cryptocurrency. They don't care, so long as the people in control of it are private central banks.
Will you drop the link to that in your description box so I can go back later and check it out?
Yeah, I've actually done an entire documentary film on the Group of 30.
You did?
Yep, on my channel a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Long before, like, Pizzagate and all that stuff broke, when everyone figured out I existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen that, actually.
I get it. Hey, nobody knew who I was until I went and hunted down a serial killer in Cleveland, so,
According to some people, I covered Pizzagate, though, just because I want to somehow build a career in this, which I don't have.
Well, that kind of criticism, look, I get a lot of that stuff because I fundraise. I generate a lot of money for charity. So I definitely hear the criticism, oh, you do this for this or you do this for that. And it usually revolves around financial gain. It's such, I was just talking, I don't know if you know the Leak Project. I was with Rex on that show. And he, I told him, look, man, people are just going to criticize and they're going to hate. And it's usually for one of two things. They're jealous because, they want to do what you do, but they just don't have the balls to actually do it, which, look, that's a very real thing going on right now. People want to be outspoken, or they want to, kids want to sing, but they're scared to sing. So what are they going to do? They're going to slap, the kid that does sing in school or whatever. They'll pick on somebody because they can do what they can't do. And that's just, just to hell with these haters, man. There's so many haters out there that just can't let people be what they do and do what they are. And I know it sounds stupid or not even makes sense to say it like that, but not everybody will understand. Not everybody will understand. It's like people question why I talk to who I talk to and why I give people chances. And I said, look, I'm just here to help somebody along, and I'm not looking at negative in anything anymore in my life. I refuse to promote a negative anything. I will fight against a dark, dirty negative, but I will not promote that shit with my time and my life, because I'm trying to live positive, and I want the people standing next to me to be positive, and I want everybody to have a really good, positive outlook on the future of this planet and our life and everybody. It has nothing to do with anybody's religions or nothing to do with anybody's favorite way to eat dinner tonight. I want everybody to be happy with themselves, because when you're happy with yourself, everything is just so much better. But when you're down on yourself because somebody else put you down on yourself because they criticized your work or they talk crap about you, now you're in a shitty mood, and that shitty mood is contagious as hell.
Yeah, a virus.
It's a virus. It truly is. A bad mood is a virus, and it affects everybody, man. And that's, I'm just like, I gotta maintain a positive outlook on everything, and ignore some of the negative without ignoring what's really going on. You can't ignore that.
Yeah.
And that's most of the stuff we deal with is negative. I mean, it's like, look at what we attack. You know, Tice, you and I were brought together fighting against child pedophilia. Really, that's how we crossed paths, because you were doing one thing, I was doing another, but we were in the same world. Same with you, Run to Christ. I mean, that's I come across you in the same way. But, you know, I come across other people I work with fighting a completely different part of the beast. You know, and
Well, it's true. Like, a lot of good comes out of bad stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, all the time, all things work together. You know.
well, it does, as long as you can find a way to find the positivity, and that is a positive thing to think about. Is like, look, we're creating like an unofficial coalition of minds, you know, and it started on YouTube, battling some really nasty things like Pizzagate, which is real. Pizzagate is real. You know, child sex trafficking is so real. This stuff is so real that, I mean, it's to the point to where it's so real people actually treat it with entertainment value now. And that, well, God, that really sucks to think about it like that, but it's the truth.
Yeah. It's got so big. I mean, people were doing, like, you know, T-shirt companies and whatever. Like, no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't think that this craze of T-shirts and socks with big slices of cheese pizza on it aren't directly connected to search algorithms because of Pizzagate?
Yeah, I know.
They're seeing that pizza in general is trending because Pizzagate is so prominent on the internet that they're creating clothes and TV shows and merchandise out of it.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's definitely deeply rooted. That's for sure. You know, I got a problem. The problem is I can keep talking when I should just go to bed.
Yeah, dude.
I'm going to hang up the phone, bro. I appreciate you bringing me on. Run to Christ. It was good to talk to you, because after all this time, I never talked to you, man. Only in chat. So,
yeah, well,
good to finally hear your voice from over the pond there.
Thanks, mate. And I've got to say, before you go, you're doing wonderful things over there. Help people out, man. I really, really wish the best, and God bless.
Lead by example. That's all I can say, man. I got my son out here, right? I'm teaching him how to volunteer and take care of his fellow human.
Yeah, man.
He's 13, so, you know, if anything, I can be a decent role model for my boy, right?
Yeah, man. Get on you.
But all right, let me grab my bottle of water. I'm getting out of this damn car and I'm going in my room, and hopefully I can sleep without hearing the highway. It's like it's almost 11 o'clock and it's a traffic jam out here. I don't get it. But all right, guys, I'll talk to y'all later.
Peace, man.
Peace.
All right, so for all the viewers, I will put all the links to Brian's stuff in the description box. So I'll link you up to his Twitter, his Patreon, and his YouTube channel, and that Facebook page I was showing you. And I'll do the same just to get this out of the way now for Run to Christ. And Run to Christ is also on Steemit. So I'll put all of that information in the description box tomorrow morning when I wake up and my daughter takes a nap so that I can actually do something. When she's awake, she runs the household, basically.
I know that feeling.
You obviously have kids, right? So you know how it's like.
Got two little ones. One's 4 and the other one's 2. So it's like mayhem, you know.
Yeah.
Mayhem. That's what I should rename them. 2 older ones too. So like one's 20 now, and the other one's 15. So it's all fun and games.
Yeah. All right, so just getting back into this. I think there is some real serious concerns here, and I'll direct people again to the Corbett report video, but also this article by Anon Knowledge. The rules of the global oil game, this is a quote, may begin to change enormously. Luke Groman, founder of US-based macroeconomic research company FTT. The move would allow China to use all the gold it's hoarded for the past several years to back up its oil contracts with gold exchange, which would help the Chinese to finally unseat the petrodollar as the world reserve currency. And you can see China opened the gold market just last year, an entirely separate system than COMEX, which is the gold futures market in New York, and the over-the-counter trades cleared through the London bullion market. The country then subsequently linked its gold market with Dubai, another BRICS nation. China and Russia have both been working to undermine the West and the US dollar since China called for new world reserve currency in 2009. The WikiLeaks cable titled, "China increases its gold reserves in order to kill two birds with one stone," excuse me, shows that China was already shifting some of its massive foreign holdings into gold and away from the US dollar in 2009. China began stockpiling gold in 2013 when they bought JP Morgan's building that previously housed its gold. So you can see it's building. You know, the economic things are starting to shape.
Yeah.
And the trade routes are coming back. And with that, you have a rise in military presence and naval presence. And the Chinese are doing things like building islands in the South China Sea in order to protect their trade routes. And they're building a new advanced naval fleet that, you know, will attempt to, you know, maybe possibly rival the U.S. naval fleet one day, even though it's not even close right now.
Yeah. Well, they've got Russia backing them up, and they've got a pretty smart navy, so
Yeah.
they might not need a navy at this stage. But again, it's like, it's just weird. Like, do they really think they're going to take on the Western powers? You know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, even for me and you, like sitting here watching it all going on, we know that behind the scenes that China and Russia and the people that run America and Rome and Jerusalem and all the rest of it, they're all playing for the same team. You know, they're all trying to create this new world order. They're all playing for the same team. So the only thing they're going to have to do is like dupe the public into thinking that this little theater that they have going on, theater of war in the Middle East, and now, as you say, the Silk Road that comes around that stretch of Asia. So they're going to have to convince people that this is real and that China and Russia do pose an actual serious threat. Because we're sitting here thinking, well, they're on the same team, so who is actually going to try and dethrone the petrodollar, for example? Because the petrodollar has been the kind of main thing for dominance around the world, isn't it? With America policing it, you know?
Yeah.
So they really, because the Bible, right? The Bible says, "Who shall make war with the beast?" Right, and when it's talking about that, it's talking about the second beast in Revelation 13. And for me, the second beast in Revelation 13 is the United States. Right, so when it says who can make war with the beast, you're talking about who can possibly go up against the United States Army that is like been policing the world for like the past, what, I don't know, 50 years, maybe more, you know?
Yeah. The U.S. naval fleet, by comparison, it's ridiculous. See if there's a image here that I can show you. How the ships compare? Do they have a direct comparison? Not sure they do, but basically, like the U.S. naval fleet has 10 aircraft carriers. The rest of the world combined has 10 aircraft carriers. Like the Russians might claim theirs is bigger, but I don't believe that's possible. The U.S. naval fleet is friggin' enormous. Like it's huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we're so far ahead in terms of when you look at space technology. like the U.S. space, like Spay War and stuff like that, is way out in front of what like these guys are up to. You know, like when you look at what Spay War is up to, like these guys are way advanced of what the Russians got going on. All right, so, and I think the next big war will be highly influenced by space warfare. That's why recently you have a new, you ever heard of the U.S. Marine Corps?
Yeah.
They now have the Air Force Space Command, or Air Force Space Corps. So it's the Air Force version of the Marines, except for space. So you can see the House panel just created this thing. So I really think that's going to be the next big thing. And who knows what that means in terms of what the collateral damage on Earth is going to be and all that from this ridiculous war that the banksters are behind both sides of.
Yeah.
It's just a fake war to drive us into full chaos so that they can offer us peace afterwards, which will be a fake peace, but that's how they'll trick us into a one world government. They'll make this war so horrible that we'll never want to have war again. Yeah, and then they'll offer us the solution.
That's right. We'll like trying out for a solution and they'll give it to us, this kind of thing,
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but I don't think they'll get the New World Order. I don't think they'll achieve it. And that's basically just based on Bible prophecy. So I think they've been trying and they'll keep on trying. Ultimately, they will never set up their kingdom that they want. I don't think they will. And prophecy makes that clear, if you ask me. Daniel chapter 2, if anybody's got the time to read Daniel chapter 2, and then come over to my channel and check out my video called The New World Order Will Fail. And you'll get a good explanation about it there, which we probably don't have time to go into right now. But it basically, it tells you empires that will rule the world from the time of Daniel up until the time of Christ's return. Yeah. And the last empire, or supposed rulers of the world, will not form together like a unified unit, They'll be splintered and divisions, and that's exactly what we see right now. Of course, we know behind the scenes that the same people are pulling the strings, but yeah, I don't think we'll get a New World Order at all. So
that's not the first time I've heard that, and you're probably right. Like, they'll try, but they'll never get there. It just seems like it's an impossible.
The last big attempt for it was, because what happened after that? They formed the European Union and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, that was one sort of step on it. Step towards it. But they'll try, but at the end of the day, the only one that's going to rule the entire earth is going to be Jesus Christ, and that's just all there is to it, really. I'm afraid.
Yeah. See, in my book, I had it where in the end of the book, they actually do get like the New World Order in place, but that was mainly just fictional to be served like as like a warning of what that type of world would look like from my sort of standpoint, like what if they ever did achieve it, what it might look like, which is why I put it in there, just to serve as sort of like a, a warning.
You need to send me a copy of that, man. That'd be cool to read.
Yeah, I can send it. It's free online for everyone to read.
That's awesome.
Because it's, it took me like 2 years to write. So
yeah, nice.
Anyways, Do you have anything else you want to go over before I do the Ask Me Anything thing, which I always wrap up with, which I just go over a couple questions that people submit to me on Steemit that they want me to answer, and my Patreon people send in?
Yeah, sure. Just crack on with the AMA if you want, because I've got to go get a little bit of a drink because my mouth is really dry.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I'll be 2 secs.
All right. So every week I put up this Spitting Truth with Titus live show. This is show number 16, everybody. So we're now 16 shows into this. And I'd say about half of them have been on my backup channel because I've been suspended from live streaming on my main channel for about half of these live streams I've been trying to do. But regardless, the show must go on. So I made this little meme today, and it's Trump with his little booklet thing here that people have used for memes, and it says, "Got questions, ask me," just to get people to laugh. I don't know. It's probably stupid as hell, but I thought it was kind of funny at the time. And basically the reason I put this up here is to serve as incentive so that people that are watching this now will want to join Steemit and follow me on Steemit so they can, reply, because you have to be on Steemit in order to post a reply to this, or to join my Patreon, because eventually when I get hopefully enough people, following me on Steemit and on Patreon, I'll probably only have time to do this AMA thing for my Patreon supporters. So if you want to be sure that you will always be able to get your questions answered, join Patreon and support me on there. However, for the time being, if you want to make sure that your questions are answered live on air, join Steemit, which you'll actually make money by doing. So it won't cost you anything to do. You'll actually make money just by joining Steemit, watching my work on there, and upvoting it. It's literally that simple. And if you're someone that posts good comments all the time, like say you're someone who goes on a YouTube video and posts a really good comment, like in all these different YouTube videos, and lots of people always like your comment. Well, if you did that on Steemit, you'd be making money for that because you'd be making like a couple bucks for your comments. So definitely go on Steemit and start interacting with the content on there. It'll help you out. Like, I don't know how else I can tell people about that.
Yeah, it's really cool. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, and we're all on there, and it doesn't cost anyone anything, and y'all can help me out. Like, I got $13 for posting this, AMA thing, and that's probably more money than I'll ever make on a YouTube video ever again, because YouTube will never allow me to make anything on any videos. So, all right. So the first question is, maybe you've already seen this going around on Facebook. Want to know your thoughts on this? Personally, I found it odd and unsettling how quickly they tried to twist the meaning of the recent viral video of Chester spending time with his family. It's the same unsettling feeling I got with the news of Chris's death and how hard Facebook was pushing the suicide narrative. Even before I knew all the details, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was really off about his sudden passing. And I'm pretty sure this is the TMZ video I covered, I think, on last week's Spitting Truth with Titus. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So,
and they're saying depression doesn't look always the same. All right, I'm not going to play this whole thing because I don't want to get hit with copyright. I've already shown this video of Chester Bennington, and it shows that he was not depressed. How else can I explain that to people? I mean, it's quite clear he wasn't depressed, okay? So, and he was most likely, we don't have the forensic evidence yet because on his death certificate, it states that the autopsy was done, but when you go try to find the autopsy, which you can find for every other public figure like Chris Cornell, there is no autopsy report. So we don't have any forensic evidence to go on. There's no crime scene report. There's no autopsy report. So no one knows what happened to Chester Bennington, okay? And to just say it was suicide when his own wife was questioning that on Twitter after it happened, and she's the one who posted this video. And this video shows he was not depressed, you know, and all the connections to Cornell, and Cornell was murdered. I've shown the forensic evidence for that. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of all this. You know, obviously, they're pushing the suicide narrative. This is exactly what they pushed with Cornell. The suicide thing's what they pushed with Cobain, who, you know, is his wife, Courtney Love, is best friends with Vicky Cornell. And Courtney Love was at Chris Cornell's funeral. And Courtney Love and all of them are a bunch of sick Satanists. And they're all, you know, standing around smiling at Cornell's funeral. Just makes you wonder, you know. And, you know, this guy's singer partner was, you know, friends with the Clintons down in Haiti. They were, you know, at the recycling plant down there. There's pictures of the other singer in Lincoln Park down there. So, I mean, who knows what's going on with all this? We don't know. So obviously we have to keep investigating this whole thing and just keep sharing information under hashtag Truth for Chris and hashtag Truth for Chester. So I hope that answers your questions, Harambe, and I hope I didn't rustle your jimmies. It's a nice hangout and concept. Thanks. That's not a question, but thank you. Thanks for posting, upvoted, and esteemed. Once again, that's not a question, but thank you for the nice comment. Normally, I put this post up on Wednesday so that people have a couple days to do this. I just was super busy this week, and I totally forgot. I was supposed to be at a court meeting today about GMOs and spraying on Cape Cod, which we actually won. So that's good news with Polka Cape Cod. I was supposed to be there today, and I forgot because I was dealing with the stupid storm. So it's been
all right.
Yeah, that storm. Yes, you probably saw the live stream I did yesterday, which my fiance told me I'm not allowed to do a live stream while I'm out driving the boat anymore. But yeah, you said at the 52-second mark, a wave knocked me off the dinghy, and it's actually not far from the truth. At about 56 seconds, if I had kept filming, a wave came and almost knocked the boat over. And then on the way back in from the boat, I went up a wave, and the wind caught the bow and pushed the bow up and almost flipped me head over, like right out in the middle of the harbor there. And when I landed, I came down pretty hard, and the wind caught my hat, so I lost one of my Red Sox hats out there in the harbor. So it's quite an experience out there. I wouldn't suggest going in a dinghy out in a tropical storm, just in case people are wondering.
Well, I just seen the video, and I just made that joke. I had no idea.
Yeah. I almost was swimming back to shore. So it wasn't life-threatening, but it would have been, you know, a pain in the ass to get my cell phone replaced and, you know, all those types of things. But anyways, that's pretty much all I have for everybody tonight. That's all the Ask Me Anything questions, and that's all the, you know, doom and gloom I have for you tonight about the world that we happen to live in. So unless there's anything else you wanted to go over tonight, I'm going to call it quits and end the broadcast.
Yeah, I'm happy with that because it's very late here. So yeah, it's been great talking to you again, mate. I hope to make it a bit more regular now that I'm back. I've decided to get back into the swing of things and doing videos. So I'm just going to put everything out of the back of my head that's negative about YouTube, and I'm just going to crack on and keep doing it. So hopefully I'll be on more regular with you, you know. That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have you on as much as humanly possible. I think I did, looking at the chat now, I think I triggered some people with my description here. Where I talked about the genocide of the white race. I think some people there might have been triggered by that. As I said earlier, it's not about the stupid labels they give us. It's all about the divide and conquer that they're doing. That's why I wrote that in the description. I'm just trying to troll some people. Anyways, I hope everyone has a wonderful night, and definitely thank you so much for staying up super late over there on your side of the pond.
Hey man, anytime, you know. I mean, the past couple of months I've been so tired, so I had to just kind of switch off and take a break and whatever, just exhaustion. But like I said, I'm back in the game now, and I'll be on here more often, mate, to give you a hand.
Oh yeah, no, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it, and I know it's like hard in the summer months and stuff like that.
Yeah, man.
So everyone's got like a ton of stuff going on these days. So I do appreciate you taking the time and coming over on my channel and helping me out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's been great.
And thank you to all the viewers, all 26 of you supposedly that are watching this now, and to all the countless viewers that will watch this later at whenever time they see this broadcast. So peace, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful night. You know, remember that I guess the real solution to all this is not to fear, is to put faith into Jesus Christ. And that's the real important message, I think.
Amen.
So anyways, peace, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Run to Christ. I'll do the description stuff in the morning. So in the morning, check for the links, everybody. All right. Take care. Peace, everybody.
Good night, mate. See you later.